Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse episode 289. I am Peter and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor is also here.
One last time, for now, maybe.
Well, I mean, by the sounds of it, you might get told at the hospital that your elbow's worse than it was when you first went, and you might not have to go back to work for a while again still, but we'll see.
We'll see, yeah. Should go to plan, then I will be at work this time next week instead of doing this.
Yes. So, everyone can rest easy. The reign of terror is over.
Yeah, break again.
But yes, it's a DC Comics podcast. We get together, we've read this week's DC Comics, and we talk about them. It's really that simple. Coming up on this week's show, we have Detective Comics 1049, Nightwing issue 88, Superman Son of Kal-El issue 7, Wonder Woman 783, Catwoman 39, Batman The Knight issue 1, and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow issue 7. That's the books that are going to be discussed on today's show. But it's also a solicits week. We have April solicits to talk about, so we'll be getting right into that in the near future. And there's a couple of relatively meaty things in there to talk about, things that were sort of news on their own before the solicits came out.
There's at least one that I have opinions on.
I'm sure. Although we already talked about Flashpoint Beyond last week, right?
Yeah, it's not that.
Yeah, okay. I was double checking. I'm just double checking that's not new this week. I was like, I'm sure we talked about that last week.
Yeah, we did.
That was the thing. Okay, good to know. But yeah, so yeah, welcome to the show 289. How is everyone? And by everyone, I mean Matt.
I'm sorry, I went and played football this morning, so yeah. Maybe sitting for a couple hours isn't the best idea right now. I might not be able to get up when I'm done. So
who needs to get up?
Well, I do, because I don't want my muscles getting all. I don't want to become you, Connor. You know.
You trying to say?
I said it. That's fine.
It's a t-shirt. I don't want to become you, Connor.
Yeah.
Words to live by.
I do have. By any chance, have you guys watched any Peacemaker yet?
I have not. No, they snuck. I didn't think it was coming out until February. It snuck up on me.
Yeah, I didn't realize they released a whole bunch of episodes already too.
Yeah, 3. There's about 3 the first.
Well,
week.
there's 4 up now.
Well, there's 4 now because it's been a week,
yeah.
but it was 3 day one.
Yeah, so I watched the first 2, and goddamn if that theme song doesn't get stuck in your head.
Is it a famous song, or did they make a?
No, so it's a hair metal song, but it's from a Norwegian band from like 2014. So it sounds like it's from the 80s.
I must listen to it.
Yeah.
I must listen to it right now.
The band's called Wigwam. It's called Do You Want to Taste? And it's just it's in my head and I can't get it out. So you know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's I'm sure it was that a thing where I found out the day it was out that it came out with 3 episodes, and I had like a pilot to review, and I think it was also the day of the Expanse finale. So I was like, I have no time to squeeze in extra episodes of TV today. So
yeah, we watched 2 because we're trying not to go through it all. And yeah, it's good through 2. So
that's good.
It's typical James Gunn. It's very, he's very leaning into the R rating or no rating of HBO Max. But he has a way with music. He just knows. So.
No, I mean, I'm sure I'll watch it at some point because I suspect it is fun. Not really even because it's getting to do with DC, just because it's James Gunn being James Gunn more than anything else. Yeah, I mean, Superman and Lois is back. Episode 2 was a bit better than episode 1, but there's still some plot lines that are a bit iffy.
I am 6 episodes through the first season. So
first season's pretty great.
Yeah, so far so good. There's some wonky stuff, but Clark as a dad, really really good. That might be the Tyler. How do you say his last name? Hoechlin. He's really good as Clark, as the football coach version. Really enjoying that. The 2 kids dynamic is weird though. Still not quite used to it. Because there's a John, Like, that's all normal. But then there's another one, and it just throws me off.
But hard. Matt, has it clicked yet who Jordan's named after?
Oh, yeah. We
Okay.
talked about that
All right.
a while ago. I thought, yeah. So,
That was like, it's one of those things where we should have figured it out, but there was that moment where
Yeah.
it dawned on us that he's named after Jor-El. It was like,
Yeah.
of course!
Of course.
Because then the joke was that Sam Lane has 2 grandsons and neither one are named after him.
Right.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
he shouldn't have been such a dick.
Yeah.
Although I really like this version of Sam Lane.
Yeah.
You
The
see,
Sam
it's
Lane
not
is-
bad.
So far, he's more, neutral than anything, through 6 episodes.
I'd say overall he's one of the most positive takes on
Yeah.
Sam Lane I've ever seen, but it's
Yeah.
still not in a way that
Mm-hmm.
betrays the character.
Yeah, the
Right.
roots of the character are still there, but they're definitely going for something where he is sort of coming round as time goes on, and
Hmm.
so on.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there's more of the Lane family coming in season 2.
Oh, boy.
So I have heard.
She's not shown up yet, but the sort of the plot thread that's going to lead to her was opened up in episode 2, and it's like,
Yeah.
Are we-
This was put out pretty publicly, right? It's not like a spoiler to say that
No,
they're
no.
showing up.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was news that the actress who played Lucy Lane is coming back. She was Lucy Lane in Supergirl season 1, and
So that means that'll be like the only tie to Supergirl, because you guys are right. There's
oh yeah,
references to Metropolis, but it's almost as if Supergirl doesn't even exist.
that's weird. I know that
Yeah.
they go out of their way not to do it, and it's almost like if you want to just be in your own universe, that's fine. But
Yeah.
then they have like Diggle randomly showing up in an episode, and
So that means John Cryer is effectively Lex.
I mean, yeah, like until they say
Yes.
otherwise.
Right. So
But I mean, their Morgan Edge is already a different dude from what was in Supergirl. But at least we have Crisis to kind of explain. There's like Crisis happened,
right.
so everything's different. It's fine. Just go with it.
And Rutger Hauer was Morgan Edge on Smallville, right?
Oh, I don't remember that. Rutger Hauer was on
Oh.
Smallville?
I think so.
When was that?
I think season 2. Maybe
I-
it wasn't Rutger Hauer,
Joe,
but it's
for
someone
such
like
a
that.
trash show, they definitely had some good guest stars in that
Yeah?
show.
Yeah. It's because they had the Superman name enough that was like, it had enough pull to get guest stars, right?
Yeah, and I mean, not that Rutger Hauer
Yeah.
was unobtainable at the time, but like they had a pretty good array of guest stars on that show.
Season 2 and 3, he was Morgan Edge, and then they replaced him probably because he was like, I ain't doing this.
Give me more money. And they were like, no.
He got
Yeah.
offered Batman Begins and went, okay, enough of this like
Yeah.
CW shit.
Yeah, so he got replaced after plastic surgery. So he was season 3.
I have vague memories of
Yeah.
this.
Plastic such. Oh, but
I'm trying to see what
Smallville.
Go
season
undercover,
that
like he
was.
wanted to, so that people didn't recognize him. So I'm gonna change my
Smallville,
identity.
it was so soap opera. Like, there's a season where Lex convinces Lana she's pregnant so that she'll stick around, and it's like using the superhero and sci-fi stuff to just like up the soap opera of everything. It's unashamedly
I think
terrible.
You should do a public service and rewatch all of it right now. It's what the people deserve.
I'm sure people would enjoy it. I mean, people seem to enjoy it when we reviewed season 1, and then we jettisoned out of that idea.
Well, that was because we were doing it along with the other CW
Yeah.
shows, and then once we stopped doing those, it was like, well, this is a lot now.
This is a weird thing to keep doing. Although I suspect people would probably enjoy us ripping the piss out of every episode. But
I mean, I'm
Uh,
not opposed to that. I enjoy ripping the piss out of.
I mean, I'm not
Many
doing
of
season
them.
1 again. Like, if we ever go
Honestly,
back,
God no.
if we ever go back to it, we're starting at season 2.
Oh,
Like
of course.
civilized individuals. That's not.
I think we were part way into season 2, weren't we?
I don't know.
Because we definitely did.
It says something though that ripping the piss out of that in Gotham was far more entertaining than actually watching new episodes of The Flash or Arrow or whatever else was on at the time.
I feel like we could probably rip the piss out of the Flash these days as well.
That's the one.
Yeah, even the most ardent defenders of that from a few years ago are like saying it's terrible now. So I don't even like I can't even imagine like the train wreck it is at this point.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So I don't know. All right, well, we do have solicits, but before we get to solicits, of course, there's always time for everyone's favorite segment on
Was it
Comics and
X-Men?
Multiverse. The segment, of course, is the Comixology Top 10 at the time of recording. As much as Connor would like to try and sabotage the introduction of the whole thing.
Maybe if you get annoyed enough, you'll just skip it one day.
Never.
That's worth a try.
Never. No, you can guess for number one then. Come on. Let's have some guys. It's not X-Men.
It's not
Spider-Man.
X-Men related.
It's not X-Men related.
Spider-Man.
It's not Spider-Man.
Is it
Yeah.
Batman?
It's not Batman.
Star Wars.
It's not Star Wars.
Fuck.
Is it Nightwing?
It's Nightwing. Issue 88 is the number
Yeah.
one comic right now. Yes, good news all around. So happy to see that.
We just didn't guess it, not because it's bad, but just because
We're not used to that.
it tends to sell well, but not usually, top.
Number 2 is Spider-Man. Oh, sorry, Amazing Spider-Man, issue 86. Number 13 is Star Wars: The High Republic. I said number 13 there, didn't I? Because it's issue 13. That's number 3. Number 4, we're back to DC, and we're back to Tom Taylor, who apparently sells books because Superman, Son of
Good.
Kal-El, issue 7, is a
Okay.
number 4
That's
book.
all those morons buying copies just to burn.
I saw that. That was funny.
Are
And
people
he
not
goes,
happy?
yeah, please. Yeah.
Someone messaged him saying, or it was a comment or something. Oh, I read the issue and it was so terrible, so I went back to the store, bought all the issues so I could burn them.
A sale's a sale.
And he was like,
That's what he
"Cheers
said.
for the royalties."
Yeah, thanks.
And then he did the thing he always does when people make comments like this. He's like, "I'm donating to a whatever the charity was specifically for this time, in your
Yeah.
name."
Yeah, no,
It's
no.
very funny.
That's good.
But
That's
hey,
good.
maybe,
So yeah, that's number 4. Number 5 is Eternals, issue 9.
Good book.
Is it?
It's a Gillen book.
Oh. Well, let's face it. It had a movie and it has a big comic creator on it. That's why it's selling that
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Let's
It is,
not
but to be
pretend
fair,
otherwise.
it's Gillen with a sad Rubik. It's a good book.
Number 6 is Detective Comics 1049. Not too far away from. I think it was
Mhm.
5 the last 2 weeks. So in the same range.
It's got two Tom Taylor books to compete with this
That's
week.
true. That's true. Number 7 is what was this? X Lives of Wolverine. That sounds like they've not finished the title yet, and they've put an X in.
Oh, do you want to know my
As a
favorite
placeholder.
thing about this book?
I'm looking it up.
I've got two things about this book, just for context. One, retailers are pissed because they dropped this on Marvel Unlimited early, not just day and date. Instead of 3 months, or
Early.
which is worse than
Oh.
3 months behind. They dropped it early, like before it was out in stores. 2,
Interesting.
there's so Marvel have been doing like Marvel Unlimited comics. I don't know what they're called, Infinite Comics maybe.
Some like that. Yeah.
There's one that ties into this, which is apparently borderline essential to the story because it actually explains stuff instead of just being vague.
Oh.
It's actually like, no, this is what actually happened is in the Infinite comic. And I don't think retailers are thrilled that they're making one it available early on there, and 2
Oh,
making things essential to
Mar-
the stories on there because they're seeing it as poaching their audience.
Marvel
Yeah.
inching towards that day and date, streaming service style future.
I mean, they're already down to 3 months with
Yeah.
Unlimited, which is why I don't read any Marvel books day and date.
Honestly,
I read everything on there now.
If I was to make a guess, I would say like Unlimited as it is will stay the same, but there might be like a gold tier, which is like $25 a month, which gets
Mhm.
you day and date. That's the future I
Which-
kind of see happening.
that's
Probably
about what I
worthwhile.
pay for physical comics as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're paying $25 a month and getting day and date Marvel books,
Oh yeah, I'd be into that.
like
Hands
you
down.
know,
If it was 25 Marvel and 25 DC, 50 a month for all Marvel and DC day and date would be a steal still.
Yeah. That covers probably like 80% of a lot of people's reading.
Yeah. That is just indie books and stuff you have to, go out your way to get individually. But yeah, so that's X Lives of Wolverine issue 1 at number 7. Number 8 is Avengers issue 52. Hey, 52. You're not allowed to use that number. That's DC's number. You have to
Yeah,
skip
that's skip
52.
it.
so you have to go from 51,
51.5.
yeah, 51 to 53.
Those are the rules. And then next up is She-Hulk issue 1. That's a new miniseries.
That's-
Is
I don't know
that?
who that's by?
Yeah, I don't know who that's by. Let me click on it. I'll tell you who it is. Is it Ewing? No, it's not. It's Rainbow Rowell and Roj Antonio on art.
Yeah, I almost
Interesting.
picked this up, but then I was like, oh, that's another book, and I'm trying to get my physicals down. You know.
Yeah, I'm completely unfamiliar with those names.
Yeah. Well, no, it's
But-
Antonio. I've heard of the artist. I've never heard of the writer though.
I mean, vaguely, I couldn't place what I've seen their work on.
Yeah.
But hey, it'll be on Unlimited 3 months. I'll probably check it out then because
Yeah.
it'll be
Well, I
free.
mean, it's got that slick Jen Bartel cover.
I did see the
Yeah.
Jen Bartel cover. And
Yeah, that's why I almost
Mm.
picked it up.
And then number 10 is Hulk issue 3. This is the new Donny Cates Hulk book. So there
Looks
you
like an homage to, what was it, Hulk 181, first appearance of Wolverine.
yeah. There's a Wolverine looking. I don't know if it actually is Wolverine, but he's Wolverine
No,
looking.
yeah, but very much his first appearance gear.
Yeah. Just looking a little bit further down the list to see some of the other DC books. Number 14 is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Wonder Woman's a couple of
Okay.
spots below that. Batman the Night is right below that.
Where's Catwoman, given that that's a new run?
Catwoman is number 22.
To be fair, it wasn't like it was a hot seller already, so I don't know if that's
No.
actually dropped much or even potentially gained a little bit in terms of its numbers.
I'm trying to think back and remember where it was popping up when we looked before. I can't
It was
remember.
tended to be, I think, at the bottom of the first page, sometimes onto the second page,
Yeah.
depending on what
In that
else
case,
was
it's-
out that week.
In that case, it's basically in the ballpark, maybe slightly up, but ballpark the same.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to where it was.
So, yeah, and Blue and Gold's right next to it as well, just in case anyone was fussed.
I'll read that when it gets released in trade. I
Yeah.
think. Quick question for Connor, real quick.
Oh?
Not related to DC Comics.
Mm.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead cast in Ahsoka.
Yes.
You have any thoughts on
A lot of
which
speculation as to who she's
character?
playing. There's
Yeah.
two names that are being thrown around. I'm okay with either of those. Also,
Mhm.
she could just be playing someone original.
Some-
and
Someone new, right?
yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah.
I get the urge to cast her as someone specific,
Mhm.
at least from a fan perspective that we're familiar with, because this is a show about someone we're already familiar with.
Right,
It's not like
right.
a fresh show. It's not like, oh,
Well,
here's a whole bunch of new characters where
if-
they could be anyone.
Right. It feels like it's supposed to be a sequel to Rebels, you know?
Yes.
So,
And I've seen the two major speculative guesses going around, and that is all they are. There is
mhm,
no substance to either of these. She is playing Leia,
mhm,
which is possible, or she's playing Hera, which,
yeah,
it's possible. Honestly, I don't care. I'll have Mary Elizabeth Winstead in anything.
yeah, yep.
So, like,
It just
immediately
said
that's
Mary
so-
Elizabeth Winstead cast, and I was like, yes. And then I saw Ahsoka, and I went, double yes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what she's in. It improves it by her being in it.
I'm
Just
saying,
that.
if she's playing Hera, we're getting a lot of, semi-well-known actors playing Twi'leks. So why not go the full makeup? That'd be cool.
When Matt said soccer, it sounded like soccer, like Super Soccer, and I was
No,
just imagining in
Ahsoka.
my head just a TV show about people firing water at each other with water guns. Because I'm not interested in anything you're actually talking about, so I'm making up my own headcanon, and it's way more
That's all
entertaining.
right. That's all right.
All right, there you go. We're going to move on to solicits. So we have April 2022 solicits for DC Comics. Pretty interesting month for a few reasons. So we'll work through just the order around here in the article. This is the Newsarama solicits article, which annoyingly doesn't say solicits in the title anymore. It just says April 2022 DC Comics revealed, which is
Yeah.
annoying because for searchability's sake, that's not very helpful. But
It's not. I will say when you Google it, it'll still come up
Mm.
because it has solicitations and
And-
solicits near the. I assume in metadata tags, and also it has it
Sure.
in the text at the top of the page.
sure.
Anyway.
But I'm talking about, I'm going to look and I'm glancing at the page. You know,
Yes.
the word solicit sticks out to me.
It's a little bit more effort right now. But if you know in 2 months' time where you want to refer back to these solicits, you'll be able to find them by searching them. So,
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into this then. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily start with the headlining stuff per se. It actually starts with all the issues from the Shadow War crossover. So Batman issue 122, Deathstroke Inc. issue 8, Robin issue 13 make up the remainder of that crossover. Is that all of it? I think. maybe? Or is there one more part left?
Batman,
I think maybe-
Robin.
It doesn't say that it's the ending of it. So
Yeah, maybe there's one more part of it then. Because I can't remember what the list of the books were.
I think it's got an Omega issue, maybe. I think it had an
Yeah.
Alpha and it has an
Yeah,
Omega.
so maybe the Omega issue still be solicited for May, and that'll
I think so, yeah.
wrap it up. That would make some sense. Yeah, so I mean, obviously this is something we're all at least reading 2 of these books, if not
Mhm.
all 3. So yeah, we'll see how it is and go from there. I don't have much to add. Next up, though, we have Batman Beyond Neo Year Issue 1. This is a new 6-issue miniseries by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, writing with art by Max Dunbar.
We knew this was coming at some point. They did the story in Urban Legends, and at the end of it, it announced this title would be coming at some point this year. So it was just a matter of when, and I guess what specifically the story is. But to be honest, I have no attachment to Batman Beyond enough to ever read it.
Yeah. I mean, I like it well enough, but I'm not necessarily wanting more and more comics of it. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's nice covers though. I'll give it that.
Sure. Batman Killing Time issue 2, Tom King, David Marquez. So this is the miniseries that's starting the month prior. So not much we can say about it yet. It's a very nice cover though there.
Yeah.
But even the other cover that's there is also quite nice. And there's the Riddler cover's not bad. I mean, I'm not surprised, but this has some nice covers, but it does.
Yeah.
So here's some good news actually. Next up on here, so Detective Comics 1059. So this is post the weekly, period, right? Post the event series, and Tamaki is still on the book, which I am surprised by.
Right.
Only as a co-writer though. So and it says Nadia Shamas is
Isn't that
a
the backup?
guest co-writer.
Oh, okay.
It says it in the solicit text. So I'm not sure if that means this is Tamaki just maybe needs a bit of time because of doing the weekly 12 issues was a bit of a burnout, and it's okay. Here's some plot. Can you go and script a couple of issues for me for this arc while I get back ahead, or if it's more of going to be a transition to someone else.
It could be that. I mean, since it doesn't list any other writers, like I assume one of them is doing the backup.
I would assume so. No, backup written by Cena
Grace
Grace.
is doing the backup.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, maybe it's just a case of like giving her some help, or maybe it is a transitionary period. Who knows? We are getting Gotham Girl stuff in this new story.
Yeah, apparently going to Arkham Tower. So however that story ends, it seems like they're still going to be doing Arkham Tower stories.
She's got a new look, judging by that cover. She's got like a shorter haircut.
Yeah, I guess someone remembered she exists.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Tom King did by the end of his run, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Remember when he set up a whole thing with her?
Yeah.
At the end of that first arc, and that was going to be a big thing.
There was a whole thing, and with Duke and her, and like, and he just almost like he got sidetracked by Batcat stuff, Flashpoint Batman. Still, I wonder how much of that was editorial and how much of that was him.
Yeah, that's what I would ask. I would ask like how much of that was his choosing to go away from that, and how much of it was no, stop focusing on them.
Because it was Williamson that came in and did the co-writing to end the Gotham Girl stuff.
Yeah,
if you remember.
And that was rough.
Yeah. So
yeah, hopefully it's good. I may have knocked over some beverage when I.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
My cable for my headphones knocked over the can, so I'm just drying it a little bit. Next up on solicits, as chaos ensues, we have the next issue of Batman Superman World's Finest issue 2, and obviously this is not started yet. If you forgot what this is the Mark Waid book with Dan Moore on art.
Which is throwing in more of the Doom. I think we knew the Doom Patrol were in it, but they're having them front and center on the cover.
I mean, Mark Waid's always struck me as one of those guys that loves a lot of DC and lots of corners of the DC like past the universe, so it doesn't surprise me that he's bringing something in. In this case, it's Doom Patrol, but
he always has this view of the Silver Age, but he updates it very well. Because this feels very much Silver Age Doom Patrol. This is not like the Morrison-y, weirdy one. This is definitely Robot Man and the Negative Man, right? That's who's all wrapped up.
I assume so.
Negative Man, usually. Yeah.
Negative Man. I always forget what his name is. And the Calder up there. So
Yeah.
this cover is phenomenal.
Dan Mora doing a great cover. I'm shocked.
I know. Yeah. So there's a few covers here to look at. Quite a few. Is that a Tim Sale cover that I'm seeing?
You are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the one in, where is it?
It's the fourth one, I think.
Yeah, it's the fourth one, yeah.
No, it's just the variant.
I would say probably my least favorite because Tim Sale's art these days is not as hot as it once was.
I think it's very Tim Sale-esque. I mean,
yeah,
it works.
And it's fourth in the sense that we naturally go right, but you can actually go left and get to that.
Yeah.
First,
I mean,
if you
even
want.
if you do that, it's still labeled image 4 of 4 on their system.
No, I would say, Connor, I kind of like it.
I've never noticed that little box, but sure.
The way that it's split between Gotham and Metropolis, I feel that's a very well composed image.
That's fair.
Batman Beyond the White Knight issue 2. So next issue, the next White Knight miniseries is coming. So that's cool. The Hawk, they've done this every so often. This always throws me when they're not actually soliciting a reprint of something. They're just saying, "Hey, this exists, and you can go buy it." So this is both Flashpoint the trade and also the Flashpoint omnibus. They just both say it on sale now, and it's like, okay.
I think part of this is not for us reading these solicits now, but these are for when it's compiled in the DC Connect physical issue that retailers hand out to
that makes sense.
Customers. So they might flip through it and go, "Oh, could you order me one of these?"
I mean, don't get me wrong. I get that in a catalog, digital or otherwise, like having them right next to the Flashpoint Beyond issue 0 solicit makes a lot of sense. Like I get that. I feel like you could probably do that for every book though, but just not have it in this. Like when you're looking through like the customer version, almost every issue of every book should have a little box that has, say, "Hey, recommended background."
I get it, but I guess that's a lot of work. They don't want to do that all the time. They want to overload it. Whereas, hey, this is a new thing that's coming up. If you haven't read this, you might want to. It's kind of a hint of, hey, get caught up.
Yeah. And they also solicit Flashpoint Beyond issue 1 as well, because we knew it was coming every other week, so it makes sense that the next issue is solicited here as well. Based on when it's starting. So that is cool. So just keep in mind that Jeff Johns writes issue 0, but then he is co-writing with Jeremy Adams and Tim Sheridan on the rest of the book, which is kind of a weird mix of names. All things considered, but we'll see how it goes. And then we have this caught my eye. I don't think we knew about this before. This is The Flash, the Fastest Man Alive, issue 1. There is no indication that it is a miniseries. It doesn't say one shot.
No, that was my first assumption was one shot.
Yeah, because it's bigger. Yeah, it's like a 48-page book. This first issue, but it's a Barry Allen Flash story, and it says. And the lead up to the hotly anticipated blockbuster The Flash, so it's they're tying into the movie a little bit in terms of marketing. But it says after Barry's adventure with the Justice League, he's determined, and it goes on. It's a story about Girder.
Is this supposed to be continuity with the movie? Like, is this a movie version of Flash?
Is it? Yep, I think so.
Okay, all right.
So because if you look, that's a Batfleck looking Batman. And the Flash looks very much like Ezra.
Would it be Batfleck though? Because the movie's going to have Keaton.
This is post Justice League.
Oh sure.
So this is that version, right?
So
before the movie.
I mean, I thought this was them trying to launch a second ongoing Flash book that was Barry.
I did too, and then I read that, and then I looked at the art, and I was like, "This is clearly meant to be Ezra Miller." So
yeah, there's no variants to give me a second thingy. But
I think if it was a new book, there'd have been a separate announcement about it.
Probably.
Like, someone would have written articles about it. We'd know, and I haven't seen any.
It's a bit weird just how much they've dumped it in the solicits like this, though. Like, there's no fanfare for it or anything.
The next thing,
kind of like the movie.
I would say the next thing, which is more explicit in what it is, maybe leans more towards that this is a movie tie-in.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So next up, we have Earth Prime issue 1 and 2. And this is by Natalie Abrams, Kelly Larson, and Camrus Johnson, with art by Clayton Henry, at least on issue 1. Issue 2 has Tom Gurmett and Norm Rapmond on art.
And 3 different names writing it as well.
Oh, 3 different. I didn't even realize. I just saw 3 names. I thought, oh, they must be the same 3. So So yeah, spinning out of the CW shows, Earth Prime continues the adventures of your favorite heroes from the small screen. That's the first line of the solicit text. That's probably all. Most
I
of
would
us
say the next sentence is maybe just a bit more context for people who are interested in the book.
Sure, but I think for most people, that part is all they need to hear before they know if they're not interested.
Yeah.
So I think that's more. But yes,
yeah. For me, I definitely might check out the Superman one, but I don't know. I haven't watched any other CW shows in a very long time.
yeah. So each issue focuses on a different character from.
Mhm.
A different series entirely.
Yeah,
So
so-
this first one seems to be Batwoman.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's maybe got 3 stories in by, all Batwoman show stories, but maybe that's why there's 3 writers.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's 48 pages each issue, so yeah, it makes sense. It would be 2 or 3 stories.
Because the second one makes it sound like there is at least 2.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I think the cover for that Superman issue is pretty bad. But
I quite like it. I think, and
Yeah.
also it's very clearly Tyler Hoechlin Superman.
yeah,
Sure.
Even with the heavily
5 o'clock shadow.
stylized art that it is, it's very clearly that take on Superman.
it's a little
Yeah.
bit nightmare fuel for me, to be honest. But
I think it's fine. I wouldn't go out of my way to pick up that cover, but I don't think it's, Oh boy, I just scrolled down and saw the boys. Okay, that's nightmare fuel. Yeah, I just had it on Lois and Clark, and then I saw the 2, and I was like, oh boy. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and as far as like making it like those versions, I will concur that the shadow on his face and stuff does make it feel like his Superman. I don't think I've ever seen Lois on that show have a headband. So
No, that's fair.
so there's at least one detail that feels a little bit like, I don't know, from a different era of Superman, but hey ho. Next up, Wonder Woman 786. This is part 5 of the Amazons, the Trial of the Amazons storyline, which obviously leads into Trial of the Amazons Wonder Girl issue 2, then Trial of the Amazons issue 2, which I presume is the finale
Mhm.
of the whole thing. So,
Yeah, final chapter of our crossover.
yeah, I'm a little dreading this just because I don't know if I want to read it all.
I'm not sure I'm going to. We were kind of saying this before that, okay, well, not so I'm enjoying Wonder Girl that much. We were dropping it, although it's kind of cancelled now anyway, so it's a bit moot. But we've not been reading Nubia, and Nubia seems to be where most of this is being set up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if you guys read Wonder Woman this week. The backup.
Well,
I didn't read
not
the
a backup. No.
Yeah. The backup's doing a lot of the setup too.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I mean, maybe if because the first issue is going to be Trial of the Amazons issue 1, presumably.
Ooh.
Maybe I'll be tempted to try that and just see if I like it. And if I don't get into that first issue, then I can
that
call it there.
yeah, that Babs Tar that variant looks pretty cool.
Which issue is that?
It's the Wonder Woman 786.
Nice.
Oh, maybe that's Travis Moore. Hold on. He just got all confused. Babs Tar is on the other one. Whoever's the second one, where it's got Diana as the eagle, and then you have the lion, the wolf, and the jaguar.
Yeah.
I think
very cool.
on Wonder Woman
The
image.
variant covers Paulina
Yeah, I think
Yamachow.
that's that cover that you're looking at there.
Yeah. So, do you know what that cover? I makes me think Power Rangers. I'm getting a lot of
Me
Power
too.
Rangers vibes from that cover
Yep, me too.
Because-
I like it though.
because they all have an animal associated with them. They're all in a different
But-
color.
This is something that got brought up in the backup too, so I'll talk about that when we get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So here's the big bit of news this week. Actually, now we're in this finally. Justice League 75. So Joshua Williamson's taken over Justice League.
Mhm.
Well, kind of.
Well, kind of. At least for a story here.
Well, no, for an issue.
Oh, sorry, for an issue. Well, let me read the bloody thing. Jesus Christ! He has to correct everything in the first 3 seconds. Right.
I think it's important.
Justice League 75, right? So it's actually funny that this came up because just last week I tweeted that later this year it's going to be 30 years since the death of Superman, and I actually tweeted that with a little not because I thought they were going to do something in Justice League, but I actually thought, oh, maybe something in the Action Comics story is going to kind of like call back to Death of Superman, thematically or something. It'd be a nice kind of like this time he doesn't die. kind of triumphant moment or something. I don't know. But that's coming up. I think that's like October, November is the actual anniversary month. The death of Superman from 1992. But funnily enough, this week they announced Death of the Justice League, and Williamson was doing press for it, and he talks about how it's no accident that it's issue 75 because it was Superman 75, obviously Volume 2 of Superman, issue 75, where the actual death happened. So he's claiming that they're going to kill the Justice League, and they are dead, and they're going through with it. All the art and images they showed in these articles and interviews implied 5 deaths specifically, from what I could tell.
It's the variant cover as well, if you just
the
next one.
The coffins,
the variant cover's hilarious, though, just because it looks like, because of the perspective skewed a bit, right? So it looks like they're just hanging out with propped up coffins, Weekend at Bernie style.
Do you know what? I'll say this, before I read out the solicit text or we speculate or anything. The inherent instinct I have, outside of the idea of like, well, I mean, we're not cancelling Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Superman. Although, to be fair, Green Lantern like has other Green Lanterns that can be on that book, so it's whatever. Not that it's Hal that's dead, because Hal's on the image, but
it's
that'll be John.
It's John. Yeah.
Is it John? Yeah. Well, that makes sense because he's the one that's been on Justice League.
He's dead to us right now, anyways. I'm not reading that book.
That's mean. But I mean, typically, like my excitement, if they're going to do this for a while, right? Because let's face it, they're not dead forever. They're never going to be. But is like, well, who's stepping up to take all these mantles on for the ones that need mantles being taken up? And obviously, we already have John for Superman, right? He's even in the image.
John, yeah, you got the whole Bat family for Bruce.
Yeah, we got tons of Bat characters.
Yeah, you know.
And
I knew Aquaman already.
Yeah, it does thrill me actually to see like Steph, Cass, along with the Robins on this cover. Like it's nice that they're all kind of counted in the potential,
and the Metal Man hanging out in the back.
Yeah, but you've got like all most of the Green Lanterns. I couldn't help but notice though that there's no Guy. We got Jess and Kyle and Simon and Hal.
Someone
but no
has
Guy.
to be protecting the world while they're having the funeral.
No one invited Guy because they don't even want him at a funeral. Right?
He's busy.
He'd bring
busy doing his job.
He'd bring down the tone. So yes, obviously the big headline, the main cover is literally just big bold text, Death of the Justice League on black, and there's some image inside the text, but it's black with just the big bold text, Death of the Justice League.
It's very Alex Ross-esque.
Yeah, so I'm going to read. I'm just going to read the actual solicit text for this, right? So this is a 48-page special-sized issue. It is listed as the final issue. Oversized special issue. Superstar writer Joshua Wilson pens the beginning of the next big DCU event. So the fact that this is leading into an event is no surprise either. I suspect if they're going to actually treat this like a big deal, it makes sense. It's going to lead to something, right? It all starts here. A new dark army made up of DCU's greatest villains has formed on the edges of the multiverse. The DCU's best and most powerful heroes are pulled together in an epic war to push the darkness back. But in the end, they are no match for it. That's right, you heard it here first. The Justice League are killed by the Dark Army. Where's Bruce Campbell? Where's Ash to take on this horde? The Army of Darkness can be defeated by Bruce and his boomstick.
This is my boomstick.
So there's only one survivor to warn the remaining heroes of Earth of what's coming for them.
My God.
I mean, given that the Flash is on the Justice League, he doesn't have a coffin, I'm going to guess Flash, but sure.
You're wrong. It's definitely Guy. That's where he is. He's too busy.
I mean, there's no Hot Girl coffin. I don't know. Is Hot Girl still active in the Justice League these days? I've not been reading that. Matt, you've been keeping up with the Bendis.
Hold on, let me see this issue that's been here for like a month.
Technically, you could count.
Hot Girl's still there on this cover from issue 69.
It's interesting.
Nice.
What's funny, because Barry's already kind of in a precarious position, right? Because, I mean, let's face it, the reason why Williamson is doing this is presumably because Justice League Incarnate, well, it might not be essential. It's definitely going to, I think, lead into this in some way. This Edge of the Multiverse, that line in particular really sticks out as being, it kind of feels like whatever he's doing in that book is ultimately going to be relevant to this. And I suspect that, Barry might already in some way be either taken out of the picture or screwed, and that's why he's not one of the coffins here in the same way. Maybe he does survive. Maybe he is the one witness, like I said. But yeah, so the coffins are Aquaman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, presumably John, and Superman. What I will point out before we speculate anything here is that someone asked Philip K. Johnson on Twitter if this in any way was getting in the way of like his Action Comics run. Is it altering things? Is there any reason to be? And he just responded with saying, everything's happening as it was planned. It's all part of the picture. So, you know, something to that effect anyway. So it was basically like, even if...
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Either we're going to ignore it and they'll just be at different times, or it'll somehow miraculously play into it and that'll be kind of genius in its own way. Either way, don't worry about it. But he's not having to change things and be like, oh, no, I have to change everything because they're doing this story.
It just, this whole death I've always, you know, I've read comics a long time. Nothing feels real, you know, ever. Because that was kind of the point of Blackest Night.
Do you know what's funny is that part of me's thinking, there's no way they're taking Bruce away from Batman. And then I'm thinking, Williams is writing Batman, though. He's actually the one who could do it.
Do you know what annoys me most? Because it's not the concept, the story. Like, sure, like, it's hard to get too worked up. It's, they'll be back. It's just a story, right?
Yeah.
What I really hate is why. Why do they have to be like this with like, why do comics have to be so...
why did they tell us?
No, not even that. Although, sure, I get that, but that's just publicity marketing. Yes. Don't get me wrong, I'd prefer the surprise, but sure, I can live with that. Why are you starting a story, explicitly starting a story, in issue 75 of 75 of the Justice League book? No one is going to think, oh, I might pick, you know, if they're not in the know, no one is going to go, oh, issue 75. Oh, I'll pick that up. It's the final, you know, it's the final issue, and then go, and now it leads into this. Like, no one's going to know that.
I guess the idea is that a lot of people buy death issues regardless if they're reading the book, so they're kind of playing on that a little bit.
Maybe, but you could have called this Death of the Justice League issue 1 or 0 or Alpha if it was good, if that's going to be the name of the event. No idea if it is. Obviously, you know, wild speculation. In fact, I suspect it's probably not. Otherwise, they probably would have done that.
Well, this is what I said earlier. They specifically wanted the Death of Superman parallel of being in issue 75.
Right.
I get that, but that is a weak reason. There's a weak reason to.
I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying that is like what they're saying. That is
no. I know they're saying that, and I get that that's their justification. But I think it's just annoying, especially in a time where over the last few months, especially on like Twitter, you'll see people like, oh, how do I read comics? And then it's like, well, especially this issue, then that issue, then it goes to this, then they're in that, and then it's, you know, parallel with, well, how do I read manga? And it's like, start volume 1, bro. That's like the meme that's going around, right?
Yes, but then I would respond to that with, why would you want to read manga?
Irrelevant.
Check-in, mate. So
irrelevant though. Why do they do
After
this?
Connor makes his point, I'll share a thread that I read.
It's just why, like this. There is no need for this to be this complicated, and it's not complicated to us because we're in the know. We follow it. We go, oh, sure, it's 75, and then it's just one issue, and then it'll be somewhere else. But for anyone who just is a casual thing, and the people who this stunt is aimed at, it's just annoying.
We are used to this shit. And there has always been this kind of learning curve to comics. It's always been this way. There's so many stories that start at issue, you know,
right,
592.
It's always been that way. Doesn't mean it should continue.
I'm not saying it should. I'm not saying it should. But I'm saying that for us, like, we are past that learning curve, and obviously have been for some time. And I'm not saying that new people should have to go through the learning curve, but even if they do change things now, like, all the stories that are still, you know, that have already been that way are still going to want to be read, and we're still going to have to deal with it in some capacity. Now, admittedly, it doesn't matter as much because they're all in trades and stuff, and as long as they name and number trades, which they never used to do. I want to make this clear.
Yeah.
When I started reading trades and I started reading DC Comics and I was trying to read Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, I had to like research what the order was of the trades. That should not.
There were entire websites and Tumblr, and, you know, blogs dedicated to this is the order for this book.
Yeah. And obviously, yes, it should be made easier. It should. This would be better if it was just a one shot. I agree. Like, I'm not disputing that. But the point with issue 75, I don't think it's going to stop it from selling, because I think they're going to have posters. They're going to get comic shops to market it and, you know, pimp out and say this is the start of DC's next big event, and people ultimately won't care that much. is ultimately only going to be brand new people who have never read a comic book, really, that are going to think, but 75?
That's the problem is, that's the thing that this is aimed at. This stunt is aimed at those people who have not really read much comics, if at all.
Yeah.
This big poster that you can slap up, it's aimed at them.
Joe, I think smart about this as a story idea, though. If it is going to be a case of like all the next in line sort of step up, so you have, I don't know if it's going to be Dick, you know, sort of not necessarily becoming Batman, but just the idea that Nightwing's going to like step up and be kind of like the Bat representative, you know, in charge. Sure. You know, and you got John as Superman, who's already there. You got Wally, who for us obviously we can kind of consider Flash anyway. But having all these people sort of like rise up, all these characters. I think it's smart that if you do draw in new people because you're marking it as the death of the Justice League, you're effectively kind of almost backdoor piloting to these new people all these newer characters or characters that they have considered lesser or don't know. And maybe by the end of the story, if they stick around, they'll care about Jackson, they'll care about John, they'll care, you know.
Is there anything about that sense, which I don't know, I agree with everything there.
Yeah.
Is there anything about that doesn't function exactly the same if it's a one-shot with the same title instead of, you know, like called Death of the Justice League?
I do believe I started that point with say as a separate point. That was nothing.
Okay.
Nothing I said there was in conversation with the previous statements made.
I retract.
It was a new positive point I was making about the story.
I did not realize we'd moved on.
All right.
Apologies.
Well, that's nice. They'll hear that often. Matt, what thread did you?
No, my point you already hit on it was about it. It's not geared towards us, right? There's a whole thread of that I read from people that go into comic shops but not regularly, and they see this, and you know it's why Batman sells, because people can just go in and go, well, I want to read a Batman story, and those are all pretty carefully curated, right? You know, but that's why they do this type of stuff. So like Death of Justice League might be a jump on, right? And then people get introduced to the next generation, you know, and there happens to be, you know, a John Superman book right now. Nightwing's really hitting. There could have been a Wonder Girl until it got canceled.
I suspect when this was in the works, that was planned to continue.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think that's maybe why, because obviously we speculated that the announcement, you know, it's like, oh, there's more plans for Wonder Girl in the future. There was definitely, okay, well, that's just another ongoing book, or they're going to do a series of minis because it gives Joel Jones more time, or whatever. I still do think, though, the idea of like setting up like a successor is still there, even if that book is not going to continue as it was.
So, you know, you have the Aquaman stuff going on too. We're not reading it, but it's there.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. So, like, it kind of feels like this is just one of those times where, like, one of my favorite Justice League teams was James Robinson, and it was all just a bunch of, you know, not A-listers and Dick Grayson, you know, on the team. So, and it was real fun. So,
I mean, the fact that we have Tom Taylor writing the Bat and the Superman equivalents of this, you know, new generation,
right?
Or, you know, puts them in a pretty good place. Get into this,
and they're selling really well, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
It's not just critical; it's also, you know, sales. So,
which is,
you know,
annoyingly the most important aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter how good something is, if no one's reading it, then DC aren't going to publish it.
And the beautiful thing is that while this is all happening, like, Johnson's Action Comics is so separate, even if it does tie in eventually, like it's still that run's still going as it was planned. So
it's starting to feel like that's almost on the levels of like the Azzarello Wonder Woman at the start of tour. It's doing something. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be more relevant in the end than that was, but yeah, I see what you're saying with it being separate. Because I think like ultimately once he does come back, it will be like he's returned and what happened.
This has more of a start and an end that are more relevant to the wider universe than that book did, I think. But for the most part, the bulk of the story is just, we're going to go off and do a thing.
Yes.
See ya.
So, I mean, and let's face it, I mean, Death of the Justice League, I mean, that's what they're calling this issue. That's not whatever this is leading to is not going to be called that, I don't think.
Yeah, no. It's also funny, too, that on that one variant cover, there's only the 5 coffins, but if you keep going through the covers, you know, you are missing Hot Girl and Black Canary and Green Arrow.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's worth
Zatanna,
mentioning. There's a nice cover where there's like a kid looking up at like it's like Times Square-esque, you know, screens, and you do see a Flash like cowl like on the ground. So maybe there is a dead Flash. I mean, maybe Barry.
Yeah, if you keep going, there's like a monument statue in like a graveyard.
They're all on there.
Yeah, who's missing? Who is missing?
Yeah, Green Arrow's on there as well. Yeah, you're right.
Martian Manhunter's
Martian
on there.
Manhunter's yeah.
Is that Cyborg on there? On the left?
Cyborg. Oh, that's on the left. It's Cyborg. Who's the other dude on the sort of middle, just above Batman?
That's Green Lantern, I think, judging by the chest.
Oh, you're right. Okay. You look kind of bald, though. Is that Lex? Is this Lex?
No, it's John.
Oh no, I can see that now. You've said it, but you know, at glance, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't really see the Green Lantern emblem. Is that like an angle? Yeah. It's just like a circle.
It is, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's meant to be.
But probably, oh yeah, he's not anywhere else in the.
So who's on the team that's not part of that statue? Maybe they're just trying to keep it secret, and they're all on there.
Right.
Yeah, this could just be like variant rules where it doesn't matter that it's not 1-to-1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but technically Black Adam.
Who's at the funeral? So maybe he's not there.
Yeah.
I'll say Black Adam or Naomi.
Right.
I love the idea that Black Adam comes back and says, "Oh, there's this big threat," and the rest of Justice League die. I survived miraculously. It wasn't me though. I swear. That wasn't me. I didn't kill them.
Are you sure?
To be fair, Black Canary's not on that.
Oh, yeah, that could be good.
No, but no, and that is Cyborg. Right there. So, and Cyborg's in the other one too. So.
Yeah, we said that. Yeah, we said Cyborg was there.
Yeah. I was looking at the other covers.
Yeah. And there's another cover actually with Zatanna on it.
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to. That's the Todd Knock.
Yeah. And obviously some of these covers are quite nice, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
So
DC tend to have a good stable of variant artists at this point.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I think it's good timing as well. This is out in April. You suspect the event will start in May or June, so it's nice timing to sort of lead into the summer.
Yeah, I'd say on a puzzle in regards to the actual story, I think personally I'm less excited because I've not been super hot on a lot of Williamson's team stuff. Really, I didn't really love the event Infinite Frontier. I bounced off of Justice League Incarnate, and again, those things all seem to be building towards this event. So it's hard for me to get that excited because I've not been reading those really. But I don't know, maybe this issue will turn it around.
I'm curious to see what he does. I haven't had decent enough time with it. I do suspect that. I feel like I do feel like right now, just like Incarnate is intentionally kind of a smaller miniseries that obviously is leading to big things, but feels small in its own scope.
It feels small now, but also like it's probably going to be a relatively important piece of the puzzle in the overall tapestry of Williamson's story of whatever he's telling over these few years.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how much of it is important. Like if you just know that Barry got trapped by Darkseid, and like because I imagine the end of Justice League Incarnate might be like revealing who this big villain is, who's on the outside of the multiverse, and that'll be kind of like leading into
when does that end?
I mean, we've had what 3 issues of that, maybe 4.
Yeah,
so it'll probably end
3.
in March or April.
Yeah. The Great Darkness.
Yeah, I don't think there's one in this solicits.
There's not, so it must be March.
Must be March. So again, nice timing in terms of how it's spacing everything out. My hope would be, I'm not necessarily expecting this, but my hope would be to do a thing where they're ahead on this, like whatever the actual event book is, and the event can maybe come out 2 a month or something, so that it's not lasting 7 months kind of thing.
I'd say it's possible, given that we've got the other one that's going every 2 weeks, right? And we've just had the Tower. We will have had the Tower every week at that point. So yeah,
it would be nice. It would be nice if it was a bit more timely, just to because I think it feels more like an event when you get through it in a more reasonable time period.
It does. It feels weird that they're going to be publishing 2 events like simultaneously, though, right? Because they'll have the Flashpoint Beyond.
I mean, is that an event?
I'm expecting tie-ins, so
probably.
I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe that's not really an event. Just the publishing schedule being, every 2 weeks, it being Flashpoint. I'm expecting them to treat it as such, but I could be wrong.
I'm definitely more excited for this than I am Flashpoint Beyond. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I guess I am too. Although, yeah.
How are you feeling, Matt?
It's fine. It's hard to get excited for something like this when I only have that little bit to go off of.
So, yeah, we don't know what the story's going to be, but
I don't know what the stakes are actually going to be. It doesn't seem like it's actually, stuff that's sticking, especially with the fact that as you keep going through the solicits, it seems like every other series that features one of these characters that apparently dies is still going, so
I suspect we'll have more to talk about this next month.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, we could get to, like, maybe not May, but like June solicits, and it's like, oh yeah, all the books that had these characters who died are changing significantly because of it.
Right, and if that's the case, then I'll be able to talk about excitement or lack thereof,
I mean, I don't necessarily need it to affect the other books, though. If it's just a good story on its own.
Would be affected, because I don't like Flash wouldn't, because that's Wally anyway. Batman, yes, would, but I mean, Williams seems behind that anyway.
Aquaman, they're going out of their way to set up, Jackson and Aquaman working together.
It's mainly Wonder Woman. I mean, John is in Green Lantern. He's like one of the main characters in that, so that would change. But
with Wonder Woman as well, though, we don't know. Trial of the Amazons could end with some major change in that book anyway.
Yeah. So. Yeah, which is that just reaffirms the point I'm making, though, which is that I don't really need it to affect a lot of books for it to feel important.
But I also feel like it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's that important as of yet because I have no context for it
until it impacts other books. It's just kind of its own random thing.
Well, not even impacting the other books. Like if this is like a huge big threat, right, and that's what Williamson's kind of building from Incarnate. And if that's what's bleeding over, this whole Dark Army or whatever, then I feel like there's some stuff going on there. But as of right now, it's some shadowy group called the Justice League, maybe. And we'll see. I'm definitely going to read it.
Obviously, I mean, I think it's just a case of how they treat it. The fact that they gave it this market unveiling, they've given it this big, stark cover. I'm sure they're going to promote the shit out of it. I'm sure it's going to be one of those things where. Maybe they'll give out pins to comic shops to give out or something, like something stupid like that. Like, it feels like one of those types of things that they might really try and milk for everything it's worth. It definitely feels like the biggest. I mean, not including Doomsday Clock was kind of weird and separate, so that's kind of on its own weird league. I would say this feels like the biggest event since Death Metal. This feels like not the follow up to Death Metal, but it's the follow up in the sense that it's the next big event that we'll think of as the big events in DC Comics.
I think that's probably fair. Although, if you could have said that exact same thing about Infinite Frontier before that started.
We could have speculated it, yeah.
I think we probably did say something similar along those lines. This is the next big event in DC.
Yeah, in hindsight, I would say that's not there. But although now it's more clear that is a prelude to this.
Yeah, it's just a part of this story ultimately, right? Yeah. That's the start of the story.
Yeah, so there you go. So then there's some trades and things in the solicits here. I'll just quickly go through. We got Justice League Volume 1 Prisms. This is the first Bendis trade, which, you can't have that many trades. He was on the book that long, ultimately, because he's just wrapping up soon, isn't he?
It'll be 2 or 3.
Yeah, some of that. Naomi Season 2, Issue 2 is coming out in April, so that's there. Sandman Universe Nightmare Country Issue 1 by James Tynion IV. With Lisandro Estherren. Oh no, I probably butchered that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
People are excited for this. I'm happy for them. I don't understand it, but I'm glad they're excited for it.
What do you not understand?
I don't get. I do
have a question though.
The hype.
Okay.
I have a question before you talk about the book itself. Wasn't Tynion supposed to be done with new books?
I can, again, because I'm a sucker who pays for his newsletter, I can give you context on this because he did send out an email about this. Basically, he'd made that decision. He doesn't want to do any more creator-owned stuff. And then Chris Conroy, the editor, who does a lot of the Black Label stuff.
So you mean the opposite, not creator-owned stuff?
Yeah.
What did I say?
So you say that he want to do any more creator-owned stuff, which I feel is the opposite of what you mean.
He doesn't want to do a lot of work for hire.
Yeah, I thought I said he wanted to focus on creator-owned stuff, but clearly I didn't. Fair enough. Basically, Chris Conroy texted him, was like, so I'm setting up a new Sandman Universe line. I want you to lead it. And Tom was like, God damn it, you son of a bitch. Basically, talk about how Sandman was like, the big comic for him, which is probably true to a lot of people of, this generation, right? Especially, creatives, around his age range.
Mhm.
I mean, it is, that big seminal work that inspired a lot, so it's not surprising.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
This book, it's a horror book, basically, essentially. The last few books in the Sandman universe, the one, The Dreaming, they've all focused on the fantasy side of it, like inside the Dreaming. This is all set in the real world, barring some sections, and it focuses on the Corinthian. And the Corinthian is this character created by Dream to go and be, the most awful of nightmares. Basically, it's supposed to, the idea was, he's a reflection to the worst of humanity, and just is this ultimate nightmare. It has some very good stories early on in Sandman to do with Corinthian. So this Lysandra Esteran is doing the main art for the book, but each issue will have a guest artist doing a nightmare section. So this one is Yannick Paquette, but there'll be different artists for each issue for that. He did say it should completely stand alone. For if you haven't read Sandman, it should still work, but I imagine it'll be better if you have, because that's continuity for you, right?
Just not so much. I mean, I don't really have anything to say about the book on its own, really. On the Substack thing, though, is anything come from Substack? If books came out, are they praised? I've heard no one talking about it since all the big announcements of people.
He's putting work out every week. So for Tynan specifically, he has. I'm completely blanking on the name. It's like a project, like a Project Blue Book, I think is what it's called, and it is just comics version. It's taking the real accounts that people had from UFO encounters in like the 50s and 60s, and not fictionalizing them, but just adapting those stories into comics. I think he's launching something new next month as well. But at the minute, we get like an issue of that every a 10-page issue of that every 2 weeks, and then there's other stuff sprinkled throughout as well. I know Jeff Lemire has a Substack where he publishes pages of his new graphic novel that he's making, kind of like a page at a time, every however often that is.
I gotta be honest, none of this is sounding appealing to me as a comic book reader.
I mean, the Project Blue Book does, but it's all digital, right?
Conceptually, it does, but I mean, that's 10 pages every 2 weeks, like.
But that is 10 pages of that's written as a 10-page thing. It's not just here's a 10-page chunk.
Sure, but even that doesn't appeal to me that much.
But that's all worked into the overall monthly price, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like Patreon, right? There's tiers and
kind of, yeah. But I mean, the Jeff Lemire thing, I definitely don't like the sound of. Like that doesn't appeal to me at all.
No, that's fair. There's a lot of behind the scenes of it's a lot of it is you're paying for other stuff as well.
To be fair though, Jeff Lemire is still making a lot of regular cut. He's not. Yeah. He's not going Substack exclusive.
Fair, so's Tynan.
I mean, not much though.
Just not for DC.
Just not for DC. I mean, he's still got Something's Killing the Children, the spin-off for that. He's got Department of Truth. He's got Wind.
I'm aware of all this, yes, but the announcement at the time made it sound like he was going to exclusive Substack.
No, he was always just stepping away from DC, and also with all the Substack works, they own the rights to take them to publish anywhere else. So once this Project Blue Book, once the first story they're on is coming to an end soon, he can, if he wants to, take that and then bring it to Image and sell it as a a graphic novel, or as okay, we can now publish this as monthly singles if we want to.
Yeah, I mean
they clearly have those rights.
The 10-page every 2 weeks thing is the same reason I just don't like digital first books, mostly because they tend to be in a format like that, and I'm just not that into it.
That's fair. But different creators are doing different things. It just depends on which one you're following. And
as a finished trade, as a collection of shorts, sure, maybe that's a good collection, but in that format, I'm not particularly.
For me, I've been enjoying them. They've been real solid.
But I haven't heard anyone talk about it. Like, this is the first time I'm hearing about any of these things. Like, I've not seen anyone on Twitter talking about.
No, I've heard about the Project Blue Book, but that's because I roll in different type, spooky side of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff terrifies me. I don't like aliens. We all know I love Bigfoot and monsters, but I tend to stay away from alien stuff because it terrifies me.
Oh, aliens are great. You watch God Told Me to, Matt. So it's just a treat. You'll love it.
No. I'm
That's
talking
wild.
Like the gray alien stuff. Nah, miss me with that.
So with Tan as well, he does so obviously you got that story as a comic coming out, and there's more coming. I think he's hinting at something launching next month. But so on so every other week you get that, and then on the opposite week you get a.
I think this sentiment's coming from it came from this idea that when he made this announcement about Substack, and then there was other creators, like there was all these articles about how Substack's going to change the comic book industry, and I feel like we're here months later, and I'm like, I've not heard anyone talk about Substack in months. It feels like it's done absolutely nothing, and I don't mean to disparage.
I was having this thought as well.
Yeah,
I think fundamentally it was never going to impact the big two, because even if all the creators that the big names that went and took the Substack deal and were like, I'm not publishing anything in the big two anymore, your Tynan, your Snyder, your Hickman as well. Obviously, he's kind of doing that over there with Marvel at the minute. He's leaving the X to go and focus on his Substack works. The big two will just, all right, next person.
Well,
you're right.
Well, no, but I understand where Pete's coming from. There was a lot of internet hype behind it, like this was going to revolutionize things, and it doesn't seem like it's changed it. Which, if you believe all that right off the bat, you're very gullible.
Yeah,
but it did seem like this was going to be that new thing, and it kind of has become like a Patreon. I was going to say the other company, but it's just Patreon for comics.
It's just like, I don't know. It was such a big deal was made out of it, and I feel like it's made no impact. And it wasn't so much that I was thinking it'd impact the big two, other than creators might not be around to write big two comics, but that doesn't feel any different to any creator in the past who has decided to, I'm not going to do DC and Marvel anymore. I'm just going to do Image books, or I'm just going to do whatever. Like, and that seems to be what Tynan and Co are still more or less doing. Or like Lemire mostly doing Dark Horse. He just signed that deal like recently. Mm-hmm. So, like, ultimately, it's changed nothing.
I think in terms of the end product, that's probably true, and I think it was always going to be. I think it's very much like supporting like local indie sort of things, like if you're buying a book direct from the writer, right? Or if it was music, you're buying a download direct from that artist's site. This is kind of like that, and in the same as Patreon, I'm supporting this person specifically with just this money and getting whatever I get for that, and it was always going to be that.
I'm not fighting like the appeal of that or what that's doing for the creators that are using it. Although I hasten to suspect that these names that are big enough to draw people to this new thing aren't the ones who might need that support in the same way. Like, it's more the struggling creators who are just trying to break into the industry might need that support. But
perhaps, but I mean, I subscribe to quite a lot of newsletters. I read a lot of them, like for not just comics either. Like there's one I pay $5 a month, and it's every week you get a short story, like prose, like short story of sci-fi or fantasy.
I think there's a point where most people aren't willing to go hunting in multiple places for more of something, and there wasn't really anything wrong, at least in this sense, with the pipeline of where you get your comic book stuff from, right? So whether that be digital or physical, or whatever, right? No matter where you get your comics from, I think they having to go out to seek this extra service and sign up to it and do it this other way, I think for most people is not appealing.
I get where you're coming from. I would say, especially if you're already a digital reader, this is probably easier than a lot of digital comics are. Like I subscribe to it once, I click it, and that's it. It shows up in my email. Every how many days.
Well, that's kind of like my Patreon feed when it comes to podcasts. Is once I put the RSS feed in my podcatcher, as soon as a new one drops, it's just there, and I don't have to hunt for it. However, moving from the Apple one to Overcast, I have to search for if it's new or not. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have like today's podcast, but that's on me. That has nothing to do with Patreon. But I can see how it would be. How much is Tynan's, Connor?
I want to say $5 or $7 a month, something like that.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you spend that on a comic anymore, right? Like.
Yeah, and you tend to get 2 or 3 emails a week. One of which, so there's the free tier, which is just here's the updates. Here's like brief thoughts and.
Yeah, I mean, updates. I still get those because I was still subscribed to his.
Right, and then you've got we did have the more long form essay, which was the Bat Thoughts one. That'll probably be something else soon because he's finished with that series now. We've got the Project Blue Book, and then the Wild Things, which is like here are cryptids from Department of Truth, and it's like an image from a guest artist, which is usually pretty cool, and then like a research kind of in-universe
that's the money
history of me. Those are really, really fast. They're not comics
Right.
to point out, they are fictionalized in-universe lore documents.
Right, but they
Essentially.
would show up in a trade, right? This is back matter.
Yes, they are.
It's
essentially
kind of
Batman.
like if Brubaker and Phillips saved their essays for Substack.
Yes,
You know
it's
what?
exactly like that.
I would subscribe if I could go back because I got Fatal all in trade. I don't have any of those essays.
Oh, and they're so good, right?
But if I could pay them and get those, that's something that would make me do Substack. So I get that side of things.
Brubaker does have a newsletter. I don't know if he has a paid tier or not.
No, he does. It's from it's from the desk of Ed Brubaker, and it's just an update, monthly, what he's up to. I'm behind on all his books right now since he went to the different format. Since it's not monthly. So
yeah,
I
he's
gotta
doing
get
the
those.
Reckless books, which are really good.
I'm sure. I have those two from last week. I still have not read the trades. I haven't even cracked them open. So
Yeah, no, that's fair.
all right, let's get to going because we're not even through solicits yet.
I asked a pretty simple question. Cara went on for
Yeah.
ages.
So I know. But I get how passionate he is about that because it is, it is Tynan doing what he wants to do, right? Like,
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
the reason I'm relatively passionate is not because of Substack specifically. It's more just
right,
I really enjoy the format of, hey, I'm subscribed to these creators,
right.
and I sign up to new ones regularly based off of recommendations, and then this content just it drops onto my phone, and I read it, on breaks at work or whatever, and it's convenient to me to read things in that format.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not disputing what it offers anyone specifically. I am looking at it from the perspective of it's going to completely alter the comic book industry, which was kind of the sentiment that seemed to be going around when all these announcements were happening. In one very quick time span, like 6 months ago.
I would say the closest analogy to that is it's creators on TV going from network TV to a streaming service will now let me make my thing instead, and they'll offer me a higher budget, and maybe that's where more of the talent goes to at that point. I'm not saying that has happened right now with Substack. I'm saying that
No, it's definitely not, because that was way more appealing for TV.
Right. But I'm saying theoretically, that is possible that, if creators are able to set up a direct, here's a monthly income, it's kind of like the same as them setting up a Patreon individually, essentially. But doing it through email rather than a website that people have to actively visit, it comes to you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care about the email part of it. You keep hyping that part up. I don't care. I don't care if I have to go to the service or not. That's not the issue.
Well, I mean, you did say about, hunting something out and, going
Yeah,
somewhere.
a new service, a new account I have to make, a new thing I have to set up. Like a new avenue that I have to set up. The actual going to the website to check out things once I'm there, I don't care. That's no different to going anywhere else to check out the newest stuff.
It's not, but I think this is why I'm saying this is part of the appeal for the newsletters, is that I don't have to go anywhere. It just drops in and that's there waiting for me. I get a notification. It's that's cool.
I don't care. I don't care about that part.
That's fair.
If anything I could do with less notifications and less emails in my life, thank you very much. Alright, back to solicits. Right, what would we have next? So yeah, there's a bunch of Sandman stuff that they're pointing out here that's on sale soon. You got Sandman issue 1, facsimile edition, and then you got Sandman the trades, book 1 through book 4.
It's all of the that's all of the issues.
Okay.
It's basically the deluxe editions, but in the thick paperback format instead.
Right.
Yeah, so
528 pages for $35. That's
it's a bargain.
Yeah, that's a heavy. Don't drop that on your foot.
Yeah, all right, and then you got Nice House in the Lake issue 8 coming out, so that's cool. We got Ruby Justice League, the trade, I assume that is, and then a few trades here that again they do this every month now, where they highlight a few trades above the bulk of the books. Superman Son of Kal-El issue 1, Volume 1, The Truth. So that's the start of Taylor's run, of course. Midnighter, the complete collection. This is the Steve Orlando series.
Yeah, from late in the New 52, I believe that was.
Yeah,
I tried it. It was not good, although your mileage may vary. People did.
Yeah, it's from the 2015 series as well as Midnighter and Apollo, and plus stories from DC Cybernetic Summer and the Pride 2021. Yeah. It's kind of just a Steve Orlando Midnighter.
Yeah, it's just all the Midnighter stuff that he did. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us are fans of Steve Orlando on this show, but
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
once upon a time.
But yeah,
I think he's probably a cool guy, you know. So
well, it's not perfect, but yeah, but like I've
Yeah,
tried
miss-
multiple of his books, and every time I just
miss
end
me
up
with his Justice League that I was stupidly excited for.
yeah. So, Crushing Lobo, written by Mariko Tamaki. That trade's coming out. This is issue 188. I forgot that was her, to be honest. If I'm, if I'm,
Yeah, I mean, people really liked that from what I heard. Like, everyone
yeah.
who read it enjoyed it.
I just don't want it was a Lobo book. I mean, it almost doesn't matter who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Aquaman the Becoming, the trade for that's coming out. Teen Titans Go Undead? Question mark. So that's coming out. And then we're back to the proper single issues. So Action Comics 1042, with the glorious cover of Superman jumping to defeat a giant beast monster thing.
This Federici cover. I'm so excited for Federici to be the main artist on this book.
This feels like a cover to John Carter of Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only knowledge of that is the horrible movie that came out.
Yeah, but so just know that pulpy, gladiator stuff on a red planet, very much like that.
So cool stuff. Aquaman Green Arrow Deep Target issue 7. This is the final issue of this miniseries. That's kind of a neat cover. I mean, Green Arrow's a little bit weirdly skinny looking, but other than that, it's kind of a neat cover, like overall.
Mhm.
I really like the idea of it. There's just some of the details that have got that
Yeah.
artificial sheen, like
Yep.
Green Arrow's goatee and around his neck. It looks a little bit waxy.
Yeah, no, I agree. The splash of water, though, Aquaman under there, and like there's the line of water where it goes from being above to below, just looks kind of neat. Like,
Yeah.
there's a nice concept there. Aquaman issue 3 is coming out. So all these Aqualine books, wrapping up or continuing. Batgirls issue 5 is coming out. I'm just having a quick glance at the cutesy covers that I'm not super fond of. Oh, I like that third cover though.
Whoever they're fighting looks like they're in the House of Black, Pete.
On
that main cover.
On the main cover? Oh yeah, I can kind of see. Yeah.
Right, you got the horns and the red, and whoever this is supposed to be, I'm stupidly in still. I love a good Colt.
Yeah, it's what's funny is I think both the second and the third covers there are both pretty cartoony, but the third one's way more appealing to me. Because the second one's a lot more, anime eyes.
The second one, this second or the third one rather is that's on Michael Cho. That's why.
Yeah. Batman the Night issue 4. We'll talk about issue 1 a little bit later. So that's cool. Batman Urban Legends issue 14.
Oh no, the question.
Can we talk about some of the stories in this, because there's some new stuff starting in this one?
There was something actually I did read separately from this. There's a new Birds of Prey being established in one of the stories in this, which is going to be led by Lady Shiva and Katana.
Yeah, that's what's in the solicit text here. That's pretty exciting. Right.
It's not Birds of Prey though, dude. That's more of an outsiders thing.
I mean, Katana, yes. Lady Shiva has a lot of history with Birds of Prey, right?
But
yeah.
Well, yeah, but the last time we saw her with Katana was in doing Birds of Prey stuff. Or Birds of Prey stuff, I'm sorry. Outsider stuff.
I guess it depends who else is on the team. Just because it's led by them doesn't mean they're the only ones on it.
Yeah, true.
That's the weird thing though. If like Huntress ends up on the team, I'd be like, why isn't Huntress the leader? she's the one who's like, she's the Birds of Prey senior here.
That Mostert cover is fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Knees to faces.
So yeah, that's a notable thing coming out of that. But yes, there is a question story in there too.
Which means I might be reading Urban Legends a little bit longer than the next few issues.
So they get you.
Yeah,
very nice. Well, by giving you things that you like.
Just when I think something's coming to an end, they're like, but here's more. And I'm like, damn it, now I'm in again.
I know you said that as if it's a gotcha, Matt. I'm like, I don't know, just giving you things you like.
No, it is a gotcha. It's like, I don't want this super long question. Okay.
Well, there's a Birds of Prey story. Oh, go on then. Yeah. Even if it isn't, even if it's not a traditional Birds of Prey team, it's not like we've had a good Birds of Prey book in years anyway.
So you just set him up.
What?
I did nothing.
Never mind. Look at this blue and gold cover. This is cracking me up.
Why is Matt worried, thinking I'm going to be upset by the idea of a Birds of Prey book?
Oh, no, it wasn't that. I said you set him up. But we're just gonna move on. Booster Gold's giving himself 5
No,
stars.
I understand. I don't understand why that set me up.
I said it's because there's not been a good Birds of Prey book in years anyway, so they might as well try this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, why would that upset me though? I don't understand.
No, not upset. I said set up. You haven't flipped. Because I thought you were gonna go into, oh, there's not a good movie either, and
okay,
it just went over. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't really care to talk about that bad movie. I'm good.
Yeah.
So we got Batman Catwoman, issue 11. So that's finally nearing its end come April. You know, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It'll finish eventually.
Yes. Blue and Gold issue 8 is coming, which is full of quotes on the cover as if it's like a DVD for, you know, a movie that's been reviewed.
Streaming live or dead.
Yeah.
JLA's
10 out of
best.
10.
Guy Gardner.
Skeets.
Yeah, timeless epic, Rip Hunter. Killer, Harley Quinn. Do you know what? As a callback to Heroes in Crisis, which I don't normally want to be called back to, that's actually mildly amusing.
Yeah. Well, and also Super by Bibbo Babowski. Like,
Sure.
LA's Best by Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Catwoman issue 42. So again, we'll be talking about the first issue in this new run by Tini Howard later. So look forward to that discussion. Dark Knights of Steel issue 6 is coming out, so that's cool. Future State Gotham issue 12. We have Harley Quinn issue 14. I Am Batman issue 8. Monkey Prince issue 3. That is. Oh, is that not a miniseries? I feel like maybe I've had
it's
this.
an ongoing.
Yeah, I've had this revelation before. I feel like I did this last
This time last month. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I like Yang.
Yeah, I've enjoyed some of Yang stuff, but I feel like this might be kind of.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my favorite thing about Yang is definitely still New Superman. So I wonder if, you know, like some of that magic is going to rub off in this. And
yeah, it feels like he has a clean slate to kind of do what he wants, and you know, he's already having him interact with Batman and Robin, which should be fun.
Because the other things we've had him on have been a continuation of books he didn't start. You know, Batman, Superman, and Terrifics. And in both cases,
his Superman Smashes the Klan, like 3-issue big thing.
Yeah, I need to read that.
Nightwing issue 91, which has a wonderful cover, might I add. It's really simplistic, but it's one of those things where a good idea is just a good idea. So
yep, that is a phone background for sure.
Oh yeah. So nice stuff. Good. 1 Star Squadron issue 5. What you got G's of that?
No, it's hilarious that they're picking up trash on the side of the road. It's
they got the orange jackets on and everything.
Yeah, it's very Mark Russell, you know, like.
Does that bag say Lex-Mex, as in there's a Mexican food place?
I think it is.
Owned by Lex.
Purple and green in his colours.
Because when you think Mexican food, you think purple.
Yeah.
That's the first colour that comes to mind.
It's in Lex's colours, is what I said.
I know. I'm disputing his brand awareness of using it on a Mexican restaurant.
Taco Bell's primary color is purple. So at least here it is.
Well, I think that's Yellow Bell, though, right? Like yellow's what I think of because of the bell.
Yeah, but the writing and everything around there, you know, it's purple.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, the stores here are purple, and maybe you guys is the ones that you guys have.
No, yellow on purple is what I would have said.
But yellow's the main color, and at least with that, it's like purple contrast with the yellow, which is why they use it. Nothing about this looks. It doesn't even look.
The green on the M is the primary color, and it's contrasting with the purple.
I want Lex-Mex. All right, I have a problem.
That M with the dots on in green, that's their bell.
Yeah.
No, I mean not that a bell has anything to do with, you know, tacos by any means.
It does now.
But you know, Taco Bell's just existed long enough that we just kind of think of it. But the M looks like radioactive. It does not let me think food. It makes me think.
My wife would argue that Taco Bell is also radioactive. So, especially when it comes to the next day.
That's too
Worth it,
much.
though.
That's too much knowledge about Matt's toilet visits for my liking. Refrigerator Full of Heads issue 6, so that miniseries comes
That's
to
a
an
great
end.
cover.
In April. That is a good cover. You're right. Robin's issue 6. That is a disturbing cover,
I
honestly.
actually really like the cover. Obviously, we weren't big on the book. But
Yeah.
I do like that cover.
Yeah.
Just
God,
conceptually.
her name's Jenny Wren. Are we really okay?
Rogues issue 2. Speaking of good covers and books that are exciting.
Oh man. Also, I assumed this was going to be like a bi-monthly thing because it's the oversized prestige.
Right.
But this was only solicited for issue 1 last month, right?
Yeah. I believe so.
Sounds right. I mean, maybe it just like got ahead. You know, you got ahead,
Yeah.
and Leo Max. has
Leo
been-
Max.
It's
Yeah,
very
Leo
possible.
Max.
I just assumed, like all the other Black Label books that do this, it
Yeah.
would have been every other month, and it's not. It's a pleasant surprise.
I'm sure
Oh
it'll
my
only,
god.
only be to its benefit. I mean, I'm assuming by this cover they're sneaking into Gorilla City,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so very neat. Scooby Doo, where are you?
That looks like a chupacabra.
Issue 115. I love
So we
how
got excited
I
for it.
love how because Scooby Doo is owned by Warner Brothers and they have a comic book. Like every time we do these
Yeah.
lists, it's just this random Scooby Doo issue mixed in with everything.
I'm always glad to see it's there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
This is basically DC's version of Star Wars, is they have the Scooby Doo issue every month.
Still $2.99 though. Credit to them.
It has to play the kiddies, doesn't it?
I did try to read where they went to Joker's hideout with Batman, and couldn't do it. It's not for me. It's just not for me. It's fine.
Wonderful. All right. Then we have Suicide Squad Blaze issue 2, miniseries coming
I
up.
did
Yep.
brush over Suicide Squad 14 as well.
Oh, sorry, quite right. So I did. I was like, everyone was upset about it though.
No, I know.
In the
Just if
No,
you're
it
gonna
looks-
mention Scooby Doo, I think we should
Yeah.
mention Suicide Squad.
Looks like Superboy's been revealed to be Match, so that's kind of cool. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna read it still, but
I will say the Blaze book though, this Black Label book, does
Yeah.
have a nice cover. I'll say that much.
I
I-
at first glance thought that was a Liam Sharp cover, and I don't
Yeah.
see Liam Sharp's name attached to it, so I'm
No?
assuming it's not. But my God, it
Wait.
looks like a Sharp cover.
Aaron Campbell or Christina Kalita?
I don't know either one enough to know which one it is.
Yeah. No.
Superman Son of Kal-El issue 10. Yeah, not much to add really. Although
Looks
that
pretty cool.
variant, he looks like I feel like I'm getting an actor off of him in that variant where he's flying above the city.
Hmm.
Like I'm getting
Who is it though?
someone specific.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm getting someone.
The
Maybe
hair
it's-
is very Hook-esque, Pete.
It's very hook hair. You're right.
Yeah.
Send
So
John.
Maybe that's what it is.
Send John.
Send Kent.
Task Force Z issue 7 is coming out. That's actually quite a fun cover, to be honest.
Yeah.
I forgot that that's not a mini.
Oh,
no.
it's ongoing, baby.
Same with Titans Academy.
Titans
it was in the
Academy
mini.
issue 14. Yep. The Flash 781.
Which you should be glad to know it's back to Jamie Adams. It's just taken that month off where it's being grabbed by something else.
I'll be honest, I forgot I even had that last month, so
Oh,
good-
snap.
good point to bring up.
You got an Eclipso War.
Yeah, you're catching up on this, aren't you, Matt?
I need to. I need to finish Stars and Stripe first, and then I'll go and look at that.
Yeah, I feel like you would get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have the first arc to get through where he's like jumping from speedster to speedster, and then this past arc that's kind of still
Yeah.
going. So fun stuff. Joker issue 14, which is the final issue, which is not a surprise. We knew at least Tynion was done with the book at that point. So
Yeah, there was always a possibility they'd have wanted to carry it on just because
Yeah.
Joker sells,
Yeah.
right? But
yeah, the Swamp Thing issue 12. Oh, that's a cover.
That's interesting too.
oh, man. And then the
Gears.
second cover is the Liam Sharp cover.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
but-
oh that's very nice as well.
Oh, man.
Oh my.
That is ethereal.
That's all sorts of things. Wonder Woman Evolution issue 6 coming out. World of Krypton issue 5. So that's nearing its end, and then we're on to the trades and the books and all that. 100 Bullets On was volume 2 being the first one there, so I guess they're
Yeah, just having a glance if there was anything notable. I guess Doom Patrol by Rachel Pollack is getting an omnibus at last because that's been notoriously uncollected, right?
That's cool.
Is it? So I just noticed in the Urban Legends volume 2 trade. How many issues are they collected in those trades? Is that like 3 issues per book or something like that? Maybe 4?
Let's see.
Good question.
This is
So this has the Outsiders Future State story. So that was how many issues? 3?
unless there's like separating the stories out and saying, okay, here's all like of these 2 stories in one book.
Yeah,
Because it would be weird to, because those 6-part stories, it'd be weird to only give you 4 parts of that.
Yeah.
It's got a pretty hefty page count. A typical 6-issue trades, about 100 I think it's 144 pages.
This is 244.
Yeah,
244. So it's probably closer to like 10 issues worth of content.
Yeah, but not enough to be 12 issues. Or
yeah, no.
I think it's interesting.
I don't think this has any of the 6 issues. I think these are mainly the 3 and 4 issue. Because it's got the Outsiders Future State. It's got Tim Drake with the kidnapped friend.
So maybe
Azrael.
So maybe volume 1 is just the 6 or the 6 and the 5 part from that first batch of issues.
I think it's interesting because obviously you have stories ending at different times.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're probably not collecting them just issue by issue. You're probably collecting them as here's this story and then this story and kind of lumping them together that way.
Yeah, probably. That makes sense. I just hadn't thought about it before, so I just saw volume 2 there and went, wait, how are they doing that? How are they splitting that up? So interesting. Doom Patrol by Rachel Pollack omnibus. I don't even know what era that's from.
I literally was just saying that was the notable thing. Every time on Solicits.
I was reading something else.
No, this is the one that was just after Morrison's run. This is the one that's notoriously uncollected and has been basically impossible to read. I mean, you can read it digitally now, but until recently, it's been a nightmare.
Does it have a fan base? Do people like it?
Apparently, it's absolutely loved.
Oh, good. Oh, excellent.
Universally, it's like, no, it took in a different direction than what Morrison did, but everyone loved it.
Okay, that's excellent stuff. Justice League New 52 Omnibus Volume 2. Oh my. I guess it makes sense. It is a John's run after all.
I appreciate them just calling it the New 52 Justice League run. There's no fancy name. It's not the Jeff Johns one. It's the New 52.
This seems like this collects the Darkseid War stuff because Tom King's listed there.
Yeah, it is. It says it's especially Forever Evil up to the end. Oh, there it is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, if you haven't read that Tom King story, The God of Light, go and do it.
That's pretty good.
That'd be my favorite thing he's ever written.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have minded them just calling it Justice League, the Jeff Johns omnibus, but at the same time, at least this is including some issues by some other people that are tying in, so it makes sense to have it be a bit more broad. I mean, to be fair, that's all the best stuff. I mean, Forever Evil is the best thing in that run, I think.
I like Darkseid War quite a bit.
I like points of Darkseid War. I think it lost itself and kind of didn't.
It lasted a bit too long, I think. It dragged on a little too long, but I think Forever Evil and the tie-ins to Forever Evil are my favorite part of that run. So
it's still probably like the best event we've had in the last decade, outside of Doomsday Clock, which is kind of its own separate thing, so like tie-ins or anything like
that. I'm trying to think. Do I like Forever Evil more than Isle of the Metals? I might.
I do like how different Forever Evil was, just because you had the whole Earth 3 invasion and subverting those expectations. The whole Alfred reveal and the
not all the tie-ins were worthwhile, but I liked both Justice League and JSA at the time, or Justice League Canada, whatever it was named at the time, while it was going on. I liked both of those going alongside the event book.
I mean, that's the most I've ever liked Cyborg was in that the Forever Evil Justice League story, where he's trying to fight Grid, and we're getting kind of the retelling of his origin. It was really, really good.
Yeah, in the JSA book, it was all Stargirl focused. Stargirl was like dealing with stuff. So that was fun. And then the Justice League issues were all like, it was like, here's an issue about Ultraman, here's an issue about Superwoman, here's an issue about Power Ring, so on. So yeah, that was good. It was good complimentary. What I guess is the only question, as I imagine it includes the Forever Evil issues in the omnibus because you kind of have to, but I imagine the JSA issues aren't in there. So maybe it's not the best way to read Forever Evil, but
that's always a compromise you get when you get an omnibus of a run versus an omnibus of an event, though. That there's always that.
Yeah. It's just in this case, I actually would recommend some of the stuff that wouldn't be in there. So
yeah, that's true.
Which isn't always the case. So there you go. That's solicits for April. Death of the Justice League being the standout bit of news and all that. Is there any other news? I believe Connor might have had something they wanted to add in.
Did I? I never said anything.
I thought you said something at the start. Maybe I imagined it.
No, I'm going.
I don't remember it.
I have a quick glance if you really want, but I don't remember saying anything.
No. It's perfectly fine. We can move on and get into the books for the week. So let's do it. Detective Comics 1049. Rico Tamaki writing, Ivan Reis on the art. This is the third part of this tower storyline, and kind of picks up mostly kind of where we left off, in the sense that we're following kind of the next part of Kate infiltrating as this Dr. Fro.
Yeah, definitely the most sinister so far. Like, there's a lot of things that are going on at this that don't quite add up.
Yeah,
just as well, Frau, not Fro.
Frau, sorry.
It made. I just normally I wouldn't care that much, but it made a big deal of in the introduction.
German, her name is
like,
Dr. Lady.
What?
Sure.
He said Frau.
Oh.
Dr. Frau, Dr. Lady.
Fraulein.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
But it made a point of saying it was, rhymed with brow, right?
Yes.
Right. Which he would like the whole thing with where.
I mean, it did, but I don't think it's that important in the long run of things.
No.
If anything,
we're still gonna call her Kate.
Yes. If anything, it was just an excuse so that he could do it with his name, so we know how to say his name.
Right.
Yeah.
Because up until then, I was like, is it Weir or Where?
Yeah.
Right. So we got that.
And where it is. Yeah. So I think what I like about this issue, in terms of where it is by the end of it, because it does ultimately reveal that Huntress was already in there as a patient. She was infiltrated as a patient, and I like how this issue ties it more into what the Detective Comics run has been, because Huntress's state of mind and what she's been going through, where she's been like, feeling and experiencing the violent crimes around the city, that now plays into this, and it's why when Kate does get to her at the end of the issue, she's like, "Oh, I don't need to go. No, I can stay in here," and she's very docile. And it's clear that whatever's happening to all the patients is also being, like, whatever they're getting dosed with, whatever's happening to them to make them all nice is also happening to her. So she's acting a little bit out of character. But I kind of like the idea that she kind of knows this and accepts it because it's taking away the pain of these visions and like these things she's going through. And that's kind of a nice
more as to
touch.
Why Dick was so worried about her last issue, because he was worried that exactly this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it gives us, and we'll get to the end in a bit, but like it gives us the dark ending where this vision kicks in as something's happening, and it's like, oh shit, she's in a really bad place.
And they're starting to hint that Dr. Ware is working with someone named Dr. Ocean, who's the pharmaceutical.
Yeah, we heard the name
person.
last issue, but yeah, we heard more of it this time.
Yeah, and so we don't know what they did, and so it feels like something's up, because they also have people selling drugs, within the confines of Arkham Tower.
Yeah, this gang that was brought up before is getting their supply from which was brought up before, but like we actually get a direct meeting in this issue where we see him talking to the leader of the gang, and like, okay, so they're talking about this. There's a supply chain thing going on. There's a theme in this issue as well about talking about movies and talking about violence in movies, and like it's basically like Anna Volshin's like talking about her past in therapy, and it's like, oh yeah, this is something I saw in a movie and it was dark and I remember. But you see like these like moments of like all these bodies in a basement, and you presume that no, this wasn't a movie. this was just
this was her
life.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and they keep like, oh, this movie, no, that wasn't it, and it's like Serpico.
Yeah.
And trying to think some of the other ones.
It's like they're not allowed to talk about violent movies, but they all do it anyway, and and the doctors know they're doing it anyway.
It's just like, well, we're not really going to be able to stop them.
Right.
Can't really stop them talking.
Yeah.
And then we get like one of the other inmates, patients.
It's not even a patient. This is a guy who works with the gang, who's kind of in there as like a I don't know what his job role is technically supposed to be, but he's brought up later when the gang leader's talking to Dr. Ware, and Dr. Ware saying, hey, there's been a complaint about a patient. And at first I thought, one of your people, right? And at first it wasn't until the end of the page I got the implication that he was kind of like hitting on Anna Volshin, and it was like a harassment thing. And I was like, oh, he's getting kind of close with. And then I thought back to the scene earlier on where he comes up and sort of says hi and puts his hands on her shoulder.
That's not who I was talking about. I was talking about Siphon.
Oh, sorry, you're talking about Siphon.
Yeah, we got the cutback that Kate recognizes him, and where her and Bruce were working on a case, and just all the bodies for this guy.
It's again selling that no, these are pretty vicious people that are in here.
Yeah, these
by
are-
traditional Arkham standards.
These are
Well, and
murderers, through and through. Yeah.
And I like the idea that Tamaki's putting in new characters. These aren't, we're not Clayface. We're
Yeah.
not.
And it means there's some unpredictability because she can kill any of the ones she wants to by the end of the story.
Right. And
In
they,
that case.
or these are going to be like, Tynan creating characters to, others to use down throughout.
For sure, yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But yeah, no, the one guy that works with the gang that's also an orderly.
Yeah, because Ware tries to like say, hey, like, can you do something about this? And it's like, oh, can we just kill whoever like noticed and made the complaint? And he's like, nah, because it's the spy from the Kano, so we can't just have her turn up dead yet. So the writing makes it clear that he's not against that idea. He just like logistically there's reasons why they can't do it yet. So that's important.
Now, the question is, 'cause obviously the implication there is we know the spy from Nakano is Chase.
Yes.
Right.
Does Ware know that, or was it someone else who's doing it? Because Kate has a moment with Anna and this guy, right? And it's like it gets in the way, and there's like maybe she was the one that reported it. And do they think that she was a spy from Nakano as well? Perhaps is that maybe where they think
It's
she's
possible.
come from?
Yeah, it's possible.
Well, because he says, I'm reading it now, because he's doing all this to get the funds from Nakano, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's putting on the face for. And then the party crasher girl, who's the gang, says that, we can get rid of the complainer because I need a dead employee too. The complainant is staff. Also, Nakano's plant has seen her. So yeah, so they know that they know that Kate's the one that complained.
Yeah, but
Meridian is the.
Yeah, so what he's saying there is that Kate is the complainant, but they're not talking about killing. They're saying no, but the spy has seen the complainant and like everything.
Is that? But they know Meridian is right. That's what I think that they're saying.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because Meridian's not even like a secret. Like, I mean, he's calling her a spy, but it's actually like all out in the open. She's there to assess it and like approve and say if it's.
I didn't know if I missed something like it was supposed to not be known that Meridian is.
No. It's all known. He's just phrasing it in a
cagey way,
a confrontational way. He's looking at it as a hostile thing. And it sets up this idea that so this guy's like trying to hit on the patients, and it is very like what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, creepy, I guess, works, but I'm looking for something more specific because sinister, yeah, because it's heavily implied that the reason why he's even doing this is because he knows they're all doped up on something to make them all calm.
Predatory is the word.
Yeah, predatory. That's a good word, because that's kind of the big ending, right? Is that when like he goes to the cell of Anna Volshin, he's like shocked and like terrified that she's not actually on whatever it is, and she's able to just like fight back and like kill him. And the final of the book is Huntress like basically experiencing this violent crime with this new ability she's got, and like just lying in bed like and hearing the screams or the screeching, and it's really horrific and like really paints this like really, and obviously like it does a good job of us like we don't feel bad for this guy because he's a predator, like you say. Right?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, like this is really set up that Anna's faking like being okay. There's some. I mean, it's all going to go bad because the story's teased it and but
and it's because is she taking the meds and they're not affecting her, or is she only pretending to take them?
Yeah.
Right, but she's clearly not violent the whole time, and she's not just biding her time. You would think, right? So whatever stuff they're doing kind of does work.
Possibly. That is, I think that's possible. Or she is, but
I would say she is just faking it until time is right. Maybe. If I have any like minor critique of the issue, is that maybe like Tamaki's voice for Cass is just a little bit wordier than I would have preferred.
I felt that as well.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. It's one of those things where it's an ensemble, and different writers will have different like techniques to writing her. So. Like
it's not much. It's just like there's an extra word or two. It's just there's lines like, no product with her now though. I think it's like just get rid of that though. No product with her now.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but I do like the idea that so the gang leader comes out of the building and Cass is like tailing her, and like so you get this sense still that they're all working together and like looking at all these different avenues as to like so there's a lot of build up where Kate changes into her Batwoman outfit and then goes to find Huntress, and this confirms that she's there.
We talk about that gorgeous first shot of her, like with the shadow, which has like the mask coming out essentially.
Sure. Well, she's just got up into the duct.
Where she says I'm in.
No, for Huntress.
Oh, for Huntress.
Oh, Huntress.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But the shadow in the back, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to call it this, but it's the best comparison. It's the Phantom Menace poster effect.
It is.
Kind of.
Say what you want about that movie, and you can say lots of things about that movie. I won't argue, but that poster is phenomenal. So.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, it's something to do with Batman all the time. Where the shadow will make the bat ears, even though he's.
But it's just it always works, and this is nice because it's a subtle thing. It's not there all the time, and also I think it's useful because it tells you it's Huntress from a visual perspective, even before it tells you later on in the page. Don't get me wrong, but immediately, just as a visual clue, this is Huntress. You know that because that's there.
Yeah, but of course, Batwoman set off a bunch of sensors, so even though she has to leave Huntress behind, she still has to go through a bunch of guards. So we get a bit of action as they're all firing at her, and bit of stuff. She jumps out the window. Some nice panels. Like I say, what I love about this ending is just this idea of what Huntress's motivation is, and it actually makes complete sense with everything the Tamaki set up with that character on the past couple of arcs building up to this. So. That makes it feel really fulfilling. I think this story will work well enough as a standalone thing, but it's actually it's still baked into the run. It still feels like it's, paying off for us.
Some development for Helena that we really haven't gotten in a minute. Like, she's just kind of popped in and out. Mm-hmm. So to have her go through this and actually, feel like she's getting help for these visions.
Yeah. So, and we're back at the base, and, Nightwing's still pissed that she's been left in there. And that's really just to that final couple of pages where this creep comes in and even the thing he says to her, because she says, he says to her, "Hey, Slate, you're not asleep. Maybe we should think of something to do." Even the way he starts his sentences, get that Predator vibe. And Huntress's narration sort of plays out alongside this. So, and as soon as he says that, she says, "Oh God, I can see it." So even before it turns and it's actually him that's the victim of the moment, the horror at the moment's already sort of creeping in, and she mentions that her that tranquility she's feeling from whatever they're doing to the patients, whatever they're giving them, fades away quickly, and she's lying there in the dark as she hears screaming. Honestly, as far as building up the story, continuing the threads, but adding this extra layer, because that's the big meat of this issue, I think, is this extra layer with Huntress and why she's wanting to stay in there, and kind of how her ability and what she's been going through is going to play into this now going forward. So, really neat.
Yeah, I do think this is probably the weakest of the 3 issues so far. Not that it does anything wrong, but it's the most weekly paced issue. Weekly as in it's a weekly
per week.
Yeah, not that it's weak.
Right.
I do think, like I say, this extra element is the focus, the big thing this issue with Huntress. I think maybe it should have spent an extra couple of pages on that to flesh out a little bit more.
Sure.
Maybe just seeing a little bit more of Huntress, during the day, perhaps without
interacting with the different patients.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because we get a few pages of Kate and Chase talking, over coffee, before she starts her shift. Which has got some important stuff in there. It drops some details about this Dr. Ocean and whatnot.
But and I think it suffers a little bit in the sense of, okay, next week's is the end of this act. It's going to be a big issue. It's oversized, and it's going to be the end of this first part of the story. I kind of feel like it's spinning its wheels a little bit in the sense of it's just all right, okay, we're getting there. We're getting, and it's just waiting for this event next week to kind of, okay, now to propel us into the next stage of the story. But it's not bad.
I think that's fine because we are going to ramp it up. I mean, they kind of tipped their hand at the first issue with the kind of more die-hardy aspects. So. Yep. I do like going and seeing the stuff that's been happening there, and kind of a wild card like Helena is, at least at this point. And we know that Ware gets thrown out, but that leaves Dr. Ocean still. So it's is Dr. Ocean the one behind all this, and Ware's just the fall guy?
In that first issue, we were speculating as to whether Ware was even dead or not, or whether it was even him necessarily.
Right.
But now that we've introduced Dr. Ocean as this other entity, or that's above him, that maybe we don't need Ware as much as we thought we did when we read that first issue.
Well, and he's coming off too. The first time we see him, he's all this, camera ready type guy, but behind closed doors, it seems like this is just about money, and he doesn't actually care. And it was that attitude that is going to lead to
or even more so, because that last issue kind of implied that it's not even just so much it's about money. Like, he hates people who go to mental hospitals, so there's maybe more of a it's he's got a goal, but the goal's the opposite of what he's claiming it to be.
Right.
So yeah, no, it's and obviously Ivan Reis's art, it's Ivan Reis, mostly
a little weak in points. As much as I like him drawing Dick, that this one is just, I don't, maybe it was the inking or the coloring down in the their makeshift cave. It felt a little bit weird. Like, it wasn't bad, it felt off for me, but everything else looks fine. Yeah,
I mean, obviously I had to have some lead time because he's doing like 4 in a row or whatever it is of a weekly comic, and I did feel a little bit of a rushness here. Like, again, like, I think it's Cass, like the body proportions felt a little bit, I don't know, tall, I guess, when she's up in the gargoyle.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I mean, that was not a big thing, but it's just little things like that, like here or there. I just noticed a little bit of offness.
It's very much dependable, Ivan Reis. It's not his best work by a long shot.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would I don't think he would claim it is.
But it's still fairly solid, and I would say there's still moments that look good on the roll. There's still, the Huntress page, a couple of the Batwoman pages.
I think that the final page is probably the best page of the image of the book. Just that image of just the harsh kind of bluish light coming from the doorway.
It lands the narrative point and feeling that it wants to.
She's isolated.
Yeah. So it's perfect. Even the stuff at the start where it's going down the stairs and the bodies are there and it's all dark and moody, like all that stuff looks great.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Then we have the backup, continuing the story of the little ginger who's an orphan.
Yeah. The little ginger who could.
And he's being picked on because Bruce sends him like a lot of things at the orphanage. Yep. People like pick on him as being like, you get rich presents from your rich daddy who's not really here. And this brings in Jonathan Crane into this story, which is an interesting direction.
This is the last person who should be working around kids.
I know. He's working there. He actually gives the kids some advice. And of course, like he mentioned something. What was the last thing he says? I hope, hoping and dreaming, for things will be different, won't change that. And then it cuts to like his nightmare that night, and obviously Scarecrow has dosed him with a little something to give him a little bit of a.
Not just him and Bailey, he's dosed all of the kids.
Oh sure, yeah. But so the kid wakes up and Scarecrow's standing there.
I appreciate that he's like, oh shit, he's gonna scream. Okay, quick. Mask off. It's me. You know me. It's fine. Don't worry.
It's fine. I'm just studying some things. I just nothing dangerous. Nothing creepy.
It does remind me of Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow though, of how quickly he pulls off the mask. It's like, oh, it's just me. Just kidding.
I think that panel, the bottom left, where he's opening the window.
Yeah.
I think it's very clearly inspired by Cillian Murphy. Like the face, the hair, all
the hair
of
down in his face.
Yeah, I can see a lot about that. So. And this is obviously meant to be early days Batman, because this is way back when, and we see that the next day the kid gets attacked again by a bully, and like the nun who's there is like, oh, that kid gets picked on every day, it's such a shame, and they're going to intervene, and Crane's like, no, let's see how it plays out this time. And sure enough, the kid fights back and starts scratching and clawing and punching at him, and they have to break it up, and Crane's like, well, that'll put a stop to that then, won't it? He's all happy with himself. But then my favorite part of this story, actually, and I wasn't expected to go in this direction with Scarecrow, because this was a completely new like chapter of this, where it didn't just follow on from before, is the kid wakes up again and there's no one there. And because he's kind of overcome his fear, it feels like the gas just hasn't really affected him that much.
Doesn't work on him, right?
But all the other kids have been led out in an almost like zombified state, almost like a Pied Piper kind of thing.
This might be the most terrifying. Like I've said this about Scarecrow, and we talked about in the Fear State stuff, how it really took him up a level. This panel of him leading all the kids to the van, legit the most terrifying he's ever been to me.
It's very animated series Scarecrow.
Yeah. It even has he's got a more classical Scarecrow look in this as well. Which
this is presumably before he's gone public as Scarecrow.
Yeah,
right?
I would have thought so. Yeah, which also makes sense again, given it's an early days Batman story. The idea that he used to have his classic look and then at some point it's graduated to what we got recently. and the kid actually makes the choice to go with them.
Mhm.
Like he throws a rock at the window, and he chooses to go in, and he's like in the the window at the end there, as Scarecrow says, "And children, tonight we're going to murder Bruce Wayne." So that's a cliffhanger. So
it's so over the top. I love it.
He's taking a dozen kids to murder Bruce Wayne at his mansion, or something to that effect.
We about to see Bruce Wayne punching and kicking kids, and I'm here for it.
Oh dear, yeah. I mean, as far as like, where the story is going here, obviously though this kid kind of fears Batman. You do wonder if he's going to like be faced with this, like, does he ultimately realize that Batman isn't against him and that he should fear Scarecrow or go against Scarecrow, or is this the story of a villain in the making? Or are we just going to keep going further down this path?
Yeah. Well, it seems like the only people that are nice to him are the villains. It's right.
Yeah.
I mean, in the first part,
even Joker was kind of nice. I mean, he was maybe faking it, but
but like even in the first part though, like Gordon was pretty compassionate to him, but he still ended up at Arkham.
Yeah, but it was Clayface.
Bruce is trying.
Yeah, it was Clayface in issue 2. Yeah.
And now it's Scarecrow, and like
he is scared of Joker as well, though. He mentions that.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And Crane's like, yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
Are we going to get to a point where by the time we've had all 12 chapters of this, is like half of Batman's rogues gallery have been nice to him, and he's like going to stick up for it? He's like, yes, these are nice, upstanding citizens.
I almost would think
people.
Yeah, that's almost what the Arkham Knight origin should be.
Sure, yeah.
It's the person that sticks up for the Arkham people, and to us it looks like a villain, but to them they're very well,
That's fine.
They have their reasons, but this is really good. Rosenberg constantly, like, this is someone that I wasn't that familiar with.
I am shocked, even though it's went through a few different creators at this point, that the backup and Detective has been consistently worth reading, like, since we
probably the only one that's been that consistent, right?
Oh, not even close. Yeah. Nothing else has even been close. But yeah, all right. So rate both the main story and the backup, then, Matt. And I am noting these down. I've got this ready.
I'll give the main story a 7.5, and I'll give the backup an 8.
Cool. Connor?
Main story's a 7, backup's an 8. And I thought we were just doing overall scores.
No, for these I'm just taking the main score. It was only for Urban Legends because they're kind of all equal. So,
fair enough.
Whereas this I can just take the main, the main score. I'm happy to still give it an 8 to the main story. I really like what it did with the Huntress inclusion and like what's driving her, and there's some good creepy moments in it. So I'm digging it. So that's cool. All right, so that'll take us on in Nightwing issue 88. Tom Taylor writing, Bruno Redondo on the art, and
this is the first book everyone reads, right?
No, I save it for last.
For the same reason. Like for me, it's I'm excited, but for you, it's saving the best for last, right?
Also, it's one of my physical books, so I try to read.
Sure.
So it's because I spend money physically to do it, but yeah.
Well, also you have to wait till you get them, whereas the digital books you can.
It's just right there.
You can get into earlier in the week. I guess that's I suppose the first thing I would say about this basically perfect issue of a comic book is
just let Tom Taylor do whatever he wants.
Not to spoil any minutiae of the thoughts.
Yes,
I like this more than the last issue.
Yeah,
I know the last issue was amazing. It was that amazing one shot
for different reasons though. Like they're both great for different reasons. This is much more my vibe. This is, if anybody ever wants to know why I love Dick Grayson as a character so much, it's this issue. I'll just hand him this issue and go, he kind of is the crux of the DCU. And, he is that heartbeat. He is, and this is why. It's not just because he's Nightwing or Robin or because of who Dick Grayson is. He's kind of the child of the DCU.
And that's why it's perfect that it starts off with a full page spread of him just looking at the city, his city, It's just that. Here's Nightwing, in all his glory. And it sets up, and I actually love this 2-part tease at the start where both Blockbuster and Babs both have their own, basically the same conversations, where Blockbuster's talking to an assassin of some kind, saying, okay, so you're going to do this today, right? Yeah, by the end of today, Dick Grayson's going to die. And then on Bab's side of things, she's talking to someone, and do you know what's funny? I was trying to guess it from the computer screen, like who it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? If I was to guess who this person is based on those shoulders, I would say Mr. Terrific. And then when the Titans show up later, I thought, oh, that's fair enough. It was just a representation. But then Mr. Terrific actually showed up, and I felt like a goddamn genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk that the art on these 2 pages is spectacular? Like both of them have the exact same layout.
But
The only difference being the location on the left.
The size of the building obviously is much smaller.
It's small, relatively speaking, small. It's still like 4 or 5 stories, whatever it is, but comparatively small versus the big skyscraper.
and it's
huge towering monolith.
Right, and the difference between Dick Grayson and Blockbuster and what they want to do, right?
Yeah, it's one's again, relatively speaking, at street level, living with the people. The other one is towering above everything, looking down.
Right,
and even color
Alex
schemes as well. You got the red on the Blockbuster page from the screen with the assassin, and then you got green obviously on all the Oracle screens. So,
but yeah, it's like Dick wants to build up the city, right? And Blockbuster almost wants to tear it down.
I don't think he wants to tear it down. He just wants to lord over it.
Yeah, I was look down on it. Yeah,
but no, that's what I mean by tear it down. It's like it's not like Bloodhaven sucks, and it benefits him to keep it that way. He doesn't want it to. He doesn't want Dick Grayson to put in all of this money to make the city better, because when the city's better and the people care about each other, Blockbuster can't do what he does. And again, it's so funny that to me this is a Daredevil story, but with smiles instead of
misery.
Yeah, like everything about like they're almost
even a Batman
characters.
story then.
But yeah, but like there's always a darkness to
I get where he's coming from. It's very Daredevil-esque as opposed to feeling.
Well, to be fair though, I think the character of Nightwing and Daredevil have been heavily compared for decades at this point. This is not a new comparison.
And even the cut of Blockbuster always reminded me of Kingpin. It can't ever be can't be a coincidence.
The fact that this run I have often thought about as being like very comparable specifically to the Wade Samney Daredevil run, and the color tones and everything and all that.
He's gonna bust in a shirt that says "I'm not Nightwing."
no, because the whole point of this issue is
I'm not Dick Grayson.
Yeah, Nightwing is going to wear "I'm not Dick Grayson" on his suit.
There you go. Right? But yeah, it's just Redondo here taking time and like getting the as great as those big shots of the city are. Like that opening page is beautiful.
Yeah,
all the little stuff. The interactions between all of the characters in this one is what sells it for me.
What's beautiful about this? So you got these teases. Dick's going to go to this, groundbreaking of the. It's basically it's this the area all the homeless kids were staying. And they're going to build something there that actually helps homeless kids, and that's the whole idea, right? So he's going down to make this speech, and he's insisting that Babs and the dog shouldn't come, but they're like, no, we're coming. Tough, tough titty Dick. This I know what you're like, but we're coming.
Breakfast from Tomasi's Deli.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that actually. That's nice catch.
Oh, this one's full of them.
Yeah. And so obviously we have the sniper already there, and we have all this going on, and we hear the bang and all the rest of it. What I love about this is that just before it reveals the rest of the team, which is obviously great and fun in all of its own ways. The idea that Babs, even if it was just the one person, like if she just because the first person you see is Starfire, who's the one who actually blocks the who blocks the bullet and bends the gun, and I was like, the idea that Babs reaches out to Starfire, Dick Grayson's ex, to be like, hey, come and help protect Dick because someone's going to try and kill him.
Yeah,
it's just
more important things.
Yeah. It's just very wholesome. But then the fact that you go through that 2-page layout and it ends with like Donna Troy just crushing the bullet in her hand.
Yep.
And or earpiece, sorry, it's earpiece.
It was when I got to this page, Starfire. I'm like, oh yeah, and then you go across and you see and you go, all the Titans are here. Clearly,
it's going to be all of them.
They're all there.
Well, and then
I'm going to love this issue.
Yeah.
And then Babs on the next page is like, I can see Starfire, and then there's a Green Eagle story. You're like, oh okay, we're doing this. It's his team.
The only downside to this is that it makes you sad that some of these characters aren't in a better book currently right now to enjoy. But that's not Taylor's fault.
But that's okay. This makes it feel more special to me because when I saw Starfire, I got pumped because
because you love seeing Starfire and absolutely.
Well, yeah, but I'm not reading her monthly in a book right now, right? So and then when I see Beast Boy too, who I also
well, just to sort of go into the minutia of this, right? So. Those two appear to take out the first sniper. That's Gun Bunny,
Yep.
but there's a what's the other one? Gun something.
Gunhawk.
Gunhawk. There you go. So, but Gunhawk's still out there because they work in pairs, and Babs is familiar with them enough to know this. So, I'm sure the next person to swoop in is Wally, right? So, I love that even though Wally's moved on and he's the Flash now, it's like, no, he's still going to swoop in. There's still going to be Titans. It's fine. And he's like, have you got a costume with you? Okay. I love the end of this page. What are you going to choose? Piggy Pack or Cradle? I love that. I love that question.
Neither that dignified. Well, you got to pick one.
I like that. We got a couple of pages until we cut back to it, and then it's like, piggyback it is.
Yes.
It chose the piggyback, did we?
Yeah. So yeah, Mr. Terrific obviously not part of the Titans traditionally, but he is here.
I like seeing him.
Yeah, but he is here because he has helped design a new version of Nightwing suit. And it looks, visually it's the same, but it's
the stripe goes down his arm and onto his over his hand now.
Yeah,
finger stripes.
But it's thin. He can be under his clothes, and it's still bulletproof. So the idea being that even if he gets like shot at as Dick Grayson, he'll still take care of.
Stab-proof as well.
Stab-proof, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's he's working on it because it's real hard to make armor. I
think it's easy to just say that as it's the throwaway techie comment, but given that, and again, we're reintroduced to the man grabbing the hearts in this issue, which it's been a little while since we've dealt with that.
Yeah.
The fact that it's this is better defending against pointed objects than most of the suits traditionally are, I think might actually be important given the way the tool that he uses to get the hearts.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, yeah. But ultimately, it's here because the dynamics have changed a little bit. And his life as Dick Grayson is actually a little bit more dangerous than his life as Nightwing is right now. I mean, that's even a joke at the start, is that he went to get breakfast as Nightwing because going as Dick gets more attention at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the joke. And Blockbuster's so determined to have him killed that he had like a failsafe in place if the assassins didn't succeed. So he's got like a squad of like thugs who come in. And it's like, okay, so this is basically, okay, the Titans have got a group of people to fight, and this is where the rest of them show up. And we see Beast Boy, Raven, Cyborg. We get a full page spread, big Titans together, all that nonsense. And it's just delightful. It's this idea that everyone who cares about Dick, like showing, and it's not even everyone, it's just the Titans, right? That's who Babs put in the call to.
It's the Titans and Mr. Terrific.
Yes.
Well, and you gotta go because the tech kind of side of things.
And I'm sure we all enjoyed Starfire basically saying, "Try me, Blockbuster. Go on, try me."
I love it. I love when they make
Starfire doing anything.
Yeah, I love it that people tend to forget because a lot of people are more familiar with Starfire from the animated Teen Titans show, right? So they see her as the teenage version, but people forget like she's taller than most heroes. So the fact that you see her and then Blockbuster's still bigger than her, and she's telling them, "Try me," like I love it.
Yeah, but it's this idea that if they actually physically fight, like this is one of the few people that Blockbuster will get his ass handed to him by.
Yeah,
there's like her, Superman, and a few other obvious examples.
Love that Beast Boy just
Beast
pops
Boy.
in.
Yeah,
It's like this is so Titans, right?
Yeah. God. Maybe Tom Taylor's working on a Titans book.
Don't get your hopes up, Matt. Don't get your hopes up.
Maybe.
Maybe one day in the future. Let's not jump to it.
How many times did we bring up him writing Superman? Sure, he's writing John, but he finally got it. We brought him writing Nightwing, right?
I think he is writing a Titans book, except it's called Revolutionaries.
We'll get there in John Kent's book. But no, Beast Boy here. This is peak Beast Boy for me.
So then we go to the assassin did get away, Gunhawk. Gunhawk.
Gunhawk is the guy. Gun Bunny's the girl.
Yes. I wanted to correct myself and call him Hawk Bunny there. I was like, this
Hawk Bunny. Yeah.
That's a weird thing. But so we got Heartbreaker or whatever he's. Did he have a name? I'm forgetting.
Heartless.
Heartless. There you go. That's the one. Right. So Heartless is there, and he's basically saying, "Hey, I've got dibs on Nightwing's heart, and you try to take that from me. So I'm not very pleased about it." I like the little touch here as well. I like the idea that he's pissed about this and he's intervening. So it keeps that thread of him being like this underlying menace as the rest of the plots are going on, which is really cool. But I love this little detail here at the end where he basically wants to make sure that he actually cares about someone and that someone will care about him being gone because it makes the heart more, I don't know, tantalizing or valuable to
Yeah.
him.
It has no worth otherwise.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, he has his big phallic like extractor gun thing that goes out and takes it.
Flunk.
I mean, that's literally the sound effect that they've put in there, man.
Oh, I was reading it.
So really good stuff. You know, we got the Superman team up next issue, which is cool.
Yep. And then
Oh,
that's
man.
a 2-part, right? It's one
Yeah.
part in this and one part in.
Yeah, so it's 1 month. It's a 1 month thing because it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, man, these two and just Redondo, drawing all my favorites.
Oh yeah, I mean
you know,
the art is phenomenal. I mean, we mentioned a lot of those first few pages, but yeah, everything with the Titans, that full page spread. I think my favorite page of the Titans though is probably that reveal of Starfire and Donna Troy.
Yeah.
I think that the way it goes from one side to the other, I was like, okay, Starfire's an X, of course she would show up, but then when it's Donna, it's like no, the entire original
That's-
New Teen Titans have shown up.
So I was managed to be spoiler free throughout, so I hadn't seen any of the images or anything. I just saw people talking about how great this was, and then when I saw Corey go, "Oh, we're getting the Titans, aren't we?"
I saw people talking about how good it was, but I see that every month when Nightwing comes out, so I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, no, me neither. And that's why I was just like, and so when I finally read it this morning, it was such a joy.
It was just happiness. So
Yep.
yeah, it was one of those things where I'm getting towards the end of the issue and I'm just kind of thinking like this is basically just perfect. This is the next perfect issue in what's mostly been perfect issues. There's been a couple of slightly less than perfect issues. That's about it.
Yeah, the Fair State Titans weren't the best, but they were still very readable.
Yeah,
They
they're
were
still very
but
good.
not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, this is like an all-timer run. Like if this keeps this up, this is up there with like all of my favorite runs that I can think of.
Yeah.
Where it's something special and
This is going to be a perfect Omni down the line, right?
hopefully multiple volumes of an Omni.
I mean, yeah, even if it's just one big one, I'll take it.
Yeah, one of those 1,500 page beasts. that
Yeah,
can kill an
like a
ant.
good 12 to 1,500 page a year.
I mean, the last time I really felt this way about a book was Aaron's Store, where it was like every issue I'd be like, "Oh my god, that was so good! I have to wait a whole month now," you know.
Yeah,
and that
that is a ball like.
that kept its up until, I mean, we had 3 different series at that point that had become, you know,
For
so
years,
that was
right?
yeah, that was before that kind of started to taper off towards the end of his run, you know. So Taylor's got, you know, a lot to work for.
I love that Tom Taylor came in after winning the prestigious Book of the Year award from us in the last few
And
weeks.
everyone else, admittedly.
Right.
Yeah.
And came in and says, well, I'm keeping my crown this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Good start.
Try it.
Yeah,
Good start.
It's probably just going to be a formality, isn't it? Come the end of this year.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, Action Comics could like that story that's been told. Could...
I would say Action Comics individually as a book might potentially rank higher. That is remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
But as a writer, Taylor's doing too many different books to, I think, probably compete with.
So I feel like with like Nightwing versus Action Comics, like I feel like Action Comics is like this juicy steak, right? And you got your potatoes and whatever. It's like a full, great meal. Whereas I feel like Nightwing's your favorite comfort food, where it's just always there, and it might not be like to other people. Like
I
oh,
think
this is
that
fine,
I think that
guess.
is an insult to Nightwing to use this metaphor.
No, because
No, I get what you're
I'd
saying.
rather have my comfort food, right? And I say this as a Superman fan, than go and eat a fancy steak. You know, that's by all means, everybody else is
this issue.
prestigious.
We're all like, oh, this is like damn near perfect, right?
Right.
But if you didn't care, like, let's say you've never read any Nightwing before, you're coming into, with this run because you like Tom Taylor. This issue doesn't have quite as much weight for you, right? Because, all that stuff with the Titans, it's just, that's history.
That's good.
It's still well written. You'll still enjoy it. But I doubt it will have quite the same impact that it does for us. I think that's where it was being comfort food.
Right, and that's why I didn't say a specific food, because everyone's favorite comfort food is different because it makes them feel.
No, but I'm
way.
not disputing that part. I'm disputing the idea. Like I think you call it comfort food. To me, comfort food is like if I'm just to go to movies because it's easier to think of an example. Comfort food is the schlocky movie that's not really that valuable as a piece of art. Whereas that's why I'm disputing it. This is more than comfort food because it's better than that.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying for comfort food is like it's the meal that makes you feel happy and warm, like inside. For me, it's like biscuits and gravy. That's not everybody's favorite, but like that's my happy food. And so, and that's what Nightwing is for me. As much as I love action, and action's really good, and it's telling like this, like big important story in the scheme of Superman and what it means with Mongol, and there's these underlying themes. Those are still there with Nightwing, but it feels like a warm hug versus that. And I'll take the warm hug over, but that's just me, you know. Other people will take the steak over the comfort food every time because they just like that.
What I'm hearing here is that this is the Expanse to Action Comics Mr. Robot. That's what I'm hearing.
Sure.
Carter's getting me.
No, I get you. Yeah,
Carter's getting me.
Yeah.
Carter's getting me. All right.
Just before we direct, I just talk about one tiny art touch that I loved. It's a tiny little detail.
Okay.
It's right at the end where Heartless is slamming Gunhawk against the wall. It's the panel where he's like, "Who hired you?" He's got the hand on the throat, and he slams him against the wall. We don't see the wall, but he slams him against the edge of the panel, and it breaks his head just slightly through the panel, and it cracks into the white border, and it's just this extra touch that where the border then becomes part of the issue. So good.
I gotta look this up.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta look this up real quick.
Yeah. All right. Well, Matt's having a look then. Matt, give us your rating.
10.
Okay. Car?
Yeah, it's a 10. It was the first day I read, and I was like, God damn it, nothing else this week's going to match up. Like, there's no chance.
Yeah, I'm also going 10 for the record, just in case it was in doubt.
Once Connor said he liked this one more than the last one, which the last one was great, like a visual. I've never read a comic like that. That's fantastic. I was like, okay, we're lining up on this.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I'm tipping my hand because I think I gave that like a 9 or something.
Yeah,
or maybe a 9.5. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I gave it a high score.
Yeah,
I was like, it was always a 10. As soon as I read it, I just knew that. No, that's a 10.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes you just know a 10 when you walk into it. This is basically what it boils down to. All right. Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 7. Tom Taylor writing with Cian Tormey on art. So yeah.
Unfortunately, lesser of the two Tom Taylor books, but by no means bad.
I mean, it is. I mean, just by comparison, it is the lesser.
Yeah. My favorite thing about Son of Kal-El, right, is how brisk it is to read. Like, and it moves. And that's the writer and the artist working in conjunction. Because every time I get to the end of this book, I always go to flip the page and there's nothing there. Like, because I get that wrapped up in it. And while, this one had, monsters and Superman, trying to preserve that monster versus this, super green Gamoran guard, which cracked me up as a Star Wars fan because it's almost, right, Connor?
Gamorrean, yeah.
Yeah. It's just, again, this is Tom Taylor just working at a level, and like Pete and Connor both just said, it's lesser, but just because Nightwing is that much just greater.
It's doing, because Nightwing is doing this whole thing where it's like it's very down to earth in terms of its style. This here is intentionally, it's larger than life. We're dealing with these massive, kaiju monsters.
And I think Nightwing also, I think, inherently feels like some sort of like grand opus about who Dick Grayson is and why he's important as a character, because it's tapping into so many facets of Dick Grayson and all that. And it's not that this isn't like tapping it, but because this is building more new, because John's a relatively fresh character, so it's like we're establishing what his legacy is. We're establishing all these things. So in time, it might look back at it and go, oh, this did all these things.
This is a foundational piece for John Kent in a way. But Nightwing isn't. It's accumulation of Nightwing, right? Whereas this is the beginning, is more or less still of John's
and I feel with Nightwing, what also Taylor wants to say, about Dick using his billion to do good, and he's telling a story about the real world through that way. I feel like Superman, it's a lot more. It's not as nuanced. It's very in your face about it. Like here, we get a lot of climate stuff. And border stuff throughout this, which is great because you should use Superman to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but it's definitely not as nuanced, and not that it hurts the book at all, but it doesn't have that, like you guys were saying, the down to earth of the other one.
Yeah, I mean, so the issue starts with a bit of a tease of like the monster destruction to come, but once we actually jump back to the start of the story, we have John being introduced into the revolution. You know, the group that is behind all this sort of.
Yeah,
you know,
they're behind the truth, which is
including Chaos Kitty. I'm glad he brought Chaos Kitty back. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
And
and Thylacine.
Yes.
So it feels like the revolutionaries and the truth are, from the same neck, I would definitely venture a guess now that we're going to get to some of the Rising being responsible for them.
And Jay goes by Gossamer and
Gossamer, which is a weird bit, but Gossamer is a thread, right? You follow the thread. To find the
I guess
truth.
that plays in the journalist angle, right?
Yeah, I thought it was a weird name to go off of, but I made it work in my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do like that. He tells John he can wear a mask, and he picks up a domino mask, which just always cracks me up.
It's very Damien-esque mask.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, there's. But he senses something quite quickly and runs off because this big thing's going on. This issue actually established a link between Bendix and Lex, which was interesting. Bendix is like, all right, get Lex on the line. we're moving. Because some Leviathan-sized creature is moving towards Metropolis. That's the big thing that's going on. And, like, Lex seems to know about the Rising. He grants him access to his teleporter, which he stole from Justice League technology, which does not surprise me.
Which that's Lex.
Yeah.
Are we assuming this narration that's like clearly seems to be from like some journalistic piece? Is that Jay writing that?
The start implies it heavily. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's writing it in hindsight though. So this has obviously come from later in the timeline.
And I think that's what gives this such a different tone to knowing it's this grandiose story, right?
Yeah.
That's being told as opposed to just a day in the life of.
Yeah. So the idea that Lex and Bendix are in some sort of a cahoots, or at the very least, like, that their views align, and he's in on what he's doing, doesn't surprise me.
Did we not know this already?
No, I mean it was hinted at, but we didn't have any full confirmation.
Yeah,
I maybe just have read this and assumed that I knew already.
Yeah, no, this is the first time we've definitely seen them interact by any means.
Yeah, I'm definitely, when they team up, for sure, calling them Ben Lex, and he can't stop me.
Lextus.
Yeah, doesn't work as
like, because it's Lexdix, right? Because
don't Google that, guys. Don't Google that.
Yeah,
please.
But that's what it would be, because it's Ben Dix, not Ben Dis.
So you have John, like, reassuring this little kid and saying, he just looks like a monster, but just because he's monstrous doesn't mean he's a monster. But I'll go make sure just in case. And so a big theme of the issue, like a lot of Superman encountering a big monster, is that he's not going to just assume that he's dangerous. Maybe he's actually a big peaceful being. We shouldn't necessarily just try and kill him or her. I think in this case,
seems to be right.
Yeah, he seems to be right. And Jackson's there, which makes sense. Because this is in the ocean and he's in the know when it comes to these things.
Can't you talk to fish? Yep. I mean, technically we all can, but they understand me better.
Yeah,
I did love that line.
Yeah, and basically, so the climate stuff comes into it a little bit because, like, the reason why this monster woke up effectively is that the part of the ocean it was sleeping in is
a dead zone.
It's a dead zone now. Yeah. Do you know what I immediately thought of? I thought of the auction destroyer from Godzilla. That was the first thing I thought of.
I mean, that's not far off from what a dead zone is. I mean, if you watch any of these nature docs, these dead zones are terrifying, just because you think it's water without the oxygen. Nothing can grow, nothing can survive. And when you think how vast the ocean is, the idea of that spreading.
Yeah.
And I think also the fact that we're dealing with a kaiju from under the sea here it doesn't hurt that link in your brain to Godzilla.
Right.
I can't hear Under the Sea without hearing the SpongeBob theme kind of creep in.
Yeah.
There's a big giant kaiju from under the sea.
I'll be honest, I thought you were going to go like the Little Mermaid.
Me too. I didn't know that.
And I was like, is Pete really going to reference the Little Mermaid? This doesn't seem right.
I'm sure I saw
SpongeBob, and I'm like, yeah, that makes more sense.
I'm sure I saw it as a kid, but I don't remember anything about Little Mermaid beyond the premise. And I mean broadly. I think she gets legs, and then she has to like win someone's love
As
before
a kid, you watch that movie and you're like, oh, Ariel just wants to be with her true love. And as an adult, you're like, girl, you're 16. Get back home.
So the pair of them try to like redirect the monster. Again, I'm using that word just for lack of a better one.
Yeah, the kaiju.
And that's when the Gamora Corps show up. Some supers that have been made by Bendix.
I hate them.
And they immediately just start blasting at the monster because that's what they've been taught. They have to kill it.
Like,
I like the touch that their logo, the GC, in the shield, it looks like the Warner Bros. Logo.
Yeah. Also, I would say, like, knowing now that Taylor pulled Bendix from Wildstorm, and that's very 90s, right? The fact that these guys all remind me of really bad 90s superheroes, it's so bad it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the big thing is that one of them dies, and it was teased at the start of the issue. And what we find out, though, as it's happening, is that Bendis is like, no, this is good for us. Let him die, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's because of the how bad it's going to look for Superman. Whether that's because other reasons,
it'll show the sacrifice that they're willing to make.
Yeah.
But he froze, right? And his power is his name is Sparks, and it's electricity. It's like a bug on a windshield. And I was just like, oh my god, that's a terrible way to go.
The little splat on the big sort of like claw of this monster did make me laugh. I'm not going to lie. I found this really funny. So that's the end of the the end of the issue.
Well, and I like that you get Jay's crosscut, right? This is I didn't know he didn't move. His powers were electrical in nature. He was only 19, or he was 19 years old. So even Jay, who has every reason to vilify these people, still goes with the truth on how these people are being used.
Yeah, so it's the idea is a victim because he's been shoehorned into this and coerced into it at 19.
Right.
And the issue started. We're a bit colder in the last issue just because we didn't like the reveal of the mother stuff. And the issue does actually start with Jay looking out into the ocean, going, "She's out there, my mother." And I'm like, I almost forgot that happened because it's the one part I was like, I don't really need to care about that right now. The rest of it though is pretty good.
It's gonna become a thing though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's worse is that it could maybe she's done some evil things as well, and that might be a thing.
If she's involved in the Rising, I am going to throw a copy out the window.
Go buy.
Make sure it's cold first.
Go buy 10 more copies and throw them all out the window.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say your copy out the window or a coffee out the window?
He said a copy. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said a coffee. I just know where my brain is. So I said make sure it cools first.
I mean,
you don't want collateral damage.
No one out there.
Oh dear. So yeah, no, solid issue. This core feels like an evolution of like the idea of him like experimenting on these teens and stuff. So, yeah, so good. I enjoyed Bendix and Lex's interactions. I thought their demeanor with each other was kind of just an interest. It was a different vibe to all the other character interactions in the book, so that stuck out to me. So, yeah. All right, Matt, what are you gonna rate it? I'm
gonna give this an 8.
I'm gonna give it an 8. Connor?
I'm gonna go with just a 7. 7.
I'm happy to match Matt. I think on the art's good. We didn't really talk about the art too much, but it is a different artist.
Yeah.
On this issue, but I think it kind of keeps in tone with what we've had so far. It doesn't feel like it's drastically changed by any means.
Yeah.
So that's neat, and like I say, that splat of blood when the little superhero gets bitch slapped. I did think it was really funny. So, and that's down to the art. That's the art that made that funny.
Yeah.
So, one might argue that maybe it wasn't supposed to be funny, but I think secretly.
No, definitely the tone of it is this is a tragedy.
Yeah.
But when they said like a bug on a windshield and then splat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I laughed.
Yeah, I laughed at that too. But I'm glad I did this. It's not one of those things where I laughed at it and then went, oh well, that took me out of it because I laughed. I'm like, there was no way that was never going to be funny to me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I had the laugh, so I'm not complaining. So, but there you go. That's Superman Son of Kal-El issue 7. Wonder Woman 783, Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad writing with Marcio Takara on the art. We got all the glass Wonder Woman copies still flying around. This issue we have Shining Knight I mean, who's wearing the helmet and so on?
Yeah, he's wearing the armor, but it's definitely not Sir Justin.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, I was reading Stars and Stripes, and I just got to the Sir Justin stuff there, and I was getting whiplash.
Yeah,
because
that's good stuff, though.
So Dr. Psycho is obviously behind this new Shining Knight, and sends him after Wonder Woman, who's dealing with all the copies. And we have this, what was this guy called? The new villain, Mirror Image. What I say?
Yeah, let me see.
I don't think they mentioned his name in this issue. It was bugging me, but so he's still behind things. He's still got all these things going. We know the Hall of Mirrors is there. We know that the copies are coming from there, which is something that Etta and the others are trying to find. I did laugh a little bit when it mentioned, "Hey, Etta and Steve have been working with Checkmate." Like, yeah, all right. Oh, sure, whatever. Calm down.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's like go see
Checkmate headquarters.
It's like I'm not going to go and see Checkmate. Thank you very much.
Yeah. But so all these copies are in the city, and I actually, do you know what? I really appreciated this page that just sort of pointed out that she's having a hard time getting up to the roof on the stairs, because it would be tiring as shit, and I can sympathize. This is a normal person
from the dang stair machine.
Yeah,
truth. As someone that works out multiple times a week, going to play football today is not the same as the treadmill.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
Oh, no, for sure.
So. I will say this scene here with them on the rooftop with speaking did have the most clunky line of dialogue I've felt in this book in a while. It's where it's like dupes, like duplicates.
Yeah.
Like it felt like it was a really natural thing when Diana just said, "Oh, keep these dupes occupied. They don't attack civilians." It was there. It was like okay, I had a flow to it, and then we had to. Oh, we best stop and interrupt that in case anyone didn't quite understand what they were. And I kind of, felt the writing.
I think it's a fairly relatively minor complaint, though, because I think the rest of this scene where Steve and Diana interact for the first time in this story, I think lands.
Yeah. I think it does. It does. It's why this stood out to me. I think in general because it felt so clunky and.
Oh no!
I didn't know about this book. I don't think it's felt clunky in its dialogue at any point.
I don't think that dupes in the pejorative term, like for a foolish person, right? That's not a word Diana would usually use to describe people. So Etta being like, oh, dupes, like duplicates, that worked for me. I didn't have an issue with it.
I think it's because it was already in context that she was talking about the dupes as, because in context, we got to keep these occupied.
Right.
It felt weird to then interrupt that afterwards.
All right. I'm not gonna argue there because I forgot that these was there. Not like she said the dupes, but
yeah. So, but Shining Knight lands on the roof and keeps Diana occupied. So, ultimately, Steve is like, okay, we should go help take care of the city and stuff. Diana's got this with possibly dead man.
Oh man, Takara's art here in that where she has the lasso after she blocks, and just the whole pose here. And it's so very Wonder Woman.
It's when she takes off the tiara and throws it at the head.
Really enjoying how this is treating the lasso in this issue. Because it's not like a rope. It's not got the segmented parts like you traditionally see. It's just treated like a ribbon, and it feels more elegant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all the Mirror Diana shop, and basically this confuses Shining Knight enough that he's like. Well, and I say confused. Broadly, the idea being that he'll agree to kill all these because these are also all Wonder Women.
Yes. Also, Shining Knight calling Steve going begone wayfaced churl.
Yeah,
that's a good insight.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this fight scene both between Shining Knight and whoever the Shining Knight is and Wonder Woman, and also them teaming up against the reflections. I thought all the art looked really great here.
Oh yeah, Takara, it's all great. I just want to speak real quick on the whole Dr. Psycho and what he represents in the story, and the whole idea that he is toxic masculinity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who does he get to take on this icon of she's not really femininity, right? But it's Wonder Woman. The complete opposite of toxic masculinity is a shining knight, right? It's like this knight in shining armor, a white knight, if you will, who seems to be all honorable, but is doing the work of the guy that represents toxic masculinity. And I love that touch here. And, that even someone that
it's going to be someone we know under there.
Not that it has to be someone that we know. It's just the idea that
I would guess so. I would guess it's going to be someone.
maybe, but that wasn't my point. My point was that the fact that like how like something like toxic masculinity can pervert something like Shining Knight, like this hero that we associate with justice and fairness and all these other chivalrous things, but like this idea from Dr. Psycho is what sends him after Wonder Woman as his enemy. You know, that his chivalry is threatened by someone like Diana. So I just love that overall take here. And so to see him, so the fact that they end up teaming up, right, to take on these fake copies of her, I really like how that works.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, once this being is influenced by a better force, like he will be convinced of the right way, effectively. You know, it's a fine idea. All the art looks great, though. The fighting looks great. It flowed really quickly. It was a really quick read. Last couple of pages, I assume, is more about teasing the event coming up, because Hippolyta is like, "Oh, Diana, something's wrong. You have to come back home." And obviously, it ties it in by having like one of the reflections show up, and Hippolyta smashes it. But
so creepy, the way that Takara draws the duplicates with the dead eyes.
Yeah, you know? It's the wide open eyes.
Yeah, it's
also, at the end of it, like, I shall never die sounds pretty ominous. It's very selfish of her, that in a way that I don't traditionally assume she is.
No, but so we're getting, like, from what I can gather from Wonder Girl and the Trial of the Amazons from the backup, though, is that Themyscira has been not poisoned but corrupted by something, and maybe it has to do with it having the portal to Tartarus there where they kept Ares or whatever. But there's definitely a vibe that
I'm just flicking through it, and I'm seeing the very last panel.
Yeah,
as saying, we will win immortality for every Banu Migdal system. So I'm assuming that's the idea, is the different tribes are competing for immortality, which is why Hippolyta is saying, "Well, oh no, we're gonna live forever."
So do you want to rate the main issue first, or you just want me to talk about?
Yeah, we'll do it at the end. You go to the backup.
Okay, so in the backup, we've got. I had to refresh. It had been a minute. I had forgot, but we'd seen in the first couple of these backups that the Banu Migdal, they're not quite the same as the Amazons. They are, these earthbound, men's world women that seek them out. And so they're not immortal like the Themysciran Wonder Woman or Amazons. And so what this sets up is that they're talking to one of their oracles, and she goes into a trance, and she starts talking about like this end of times prophecy where the lion and the wolf are fighting for control, and that entropy infects the sacred land and death stalks the first, and they're all wrapped up around a snake that's eating its tail, and from what we just saw in the solicits, right, with some of those covers, is that this is what kind of the war, I feel like the Trial of the Amazons is going to be, is like who, like, and all the things that have gone wrong with Themyscira over the course since, let's even say, Rebirth, is like who's the heir to what the Amazons are supposed to be for. And that's what this gets to, is that the queen of the Banu Migdal are like, well, we're actually closest to what the original Amazons had intended, right? We're keeping the darkness of the man's world. We're a refuge for all the people that need us. While the Themyscirans sit, and sure, they were guarding Ares, but they have sat with immortality and do nothing with it. So it's almost like whatever this force is, it's breeding contempt between them, because they still feel like, from the last issue of this, the Chimera that was sent, they fully believe that was the Themyscirans to get with them, and now you have the what are they? The Esquita, from the actual Amazon jungle in Brazil. So it's basically just them arguing about if the Themyscirians deserve their immortality, and that, we sacrifice everything. We're the ones that should rule over them. And then Artemis, talks about, that's the whole reason that Atalanta had come to the Banu Migdal, was to kind of forge this this, not equality, but understanding between them so they could be on the same page. And it seems like they've gotten away from that. And that Atalanta is going to be like, well, we're going to win the doorway. We're going to take that over, and we're going to do it better than they did. So if that's what the trial of the Amazons is going to be, like, at least that's interesting. It's not just almost change for change's sake. It's playing with this whole idea that the Themyscirians have really dropped the ball on everything that, when you think about what Wonder Woman's had to do, and almost the fact that she sacrificed herself and went to the afterlife and the sphere of the gods upset the balance of all the other Amazon tribes. And, something in there, and that's what it said with like the creeping entropy. There's something there almost that's corrupting the Themyscirians, which I also finally read the annual, which I forgot about. And I was looking for my Stars and Stripes. It was still sitting there to read. So I read that and was reminded of that weird dude who says that they were the original inhabitants of Themyscira. So I'm wondering where he and them, I forget their names though, where they play into all of this. But they seem to be juggling, at least through these two, like, because we're not reading Nubia. They seem to be balancing this all pretty well. And this, knowing what we have to look forward to now in Trial of the Amazon, I'm actually more excited for it. And seeing where the context is after this backup.
That's good. I mean, I'll give the first issue of it a try and see how it feels.
Yeah.
Having not read, Nubia and some of these backups and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, it could ultimately fall on its face, and I could be completely wrong. And we should get another Amazon's attack.
I mean, to be fair, I did actually really like that annual issue and all the stuff it introduced. So
yeah,
and this seems to be playing off of that too. What's that?
That annual issue that guy that set up.
Yeah,
there's no guarantee that'll be in Trial of the Amazons, though, right?
No, it could be. So, it could be like Wonder Woman post that, I suppose.
Yeah, it could be, but it definitely felt like the Themyscirians are hiding something from Diana, and so it almost as if she's going to defect from them. It's going to be because of what she learned in the annual.
Maybe. So I remember when we read the annual, we thought that was setting up for this arc, right?
Right.
And then obviously that didn't happen. But I do wonder if it's still going to be something for the main book after Trial of the Amazons, or if it is just part of that story.
Yeah, all right. Matt, what are you going to rate? You can rate both the main story and the backup.
Yeah, I mean, they're both a 7.5. They're both. 7.5. I mean, Jakar's art really, especially for that main part.
Yeah.
But,
Connor?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 7.5 as well, and I think it is the art that drags it up that extra half point.
Yeah, I actually was also thinking 7.5. It's basically, I really like the art. I think the moment with Diana and Steve meeting again works really well. I can't quite give it higher than that, just because, like, I'm enjoying the story well enough, but I wouldn't say it's as engaging as a storyline as some of these other books that we've been talking about. So
I will say though, it feels like Clunan and Conrad are trying to forge their own version of Wonder Woman instead of retreading on stuff that we've seen so many times before, which is refreshing. So
it's been about a year of them writing Wonder Woman now, if you include the Future State stuff.
Yeah,
interesting.
All right, Catwoman, issue 39. This is kind of interesting because it's the start of a new writer, new creative team. And, we obviously were on Ram V's run, and this was kind of like, okay, Tini Howard's taken over, and we also have art by someone who I wish was named Neon, given some of the colouring in this book, but it's not, it's Leon. Nico Leon is the name of the artist.
Speaking of the colours, because you mentioned them, Jodie Belair on colours.
I'm not surprised to hear it, because almost every other book we talk about seems to have colouring by Jodie Belair. I
know we don't usually mention the colours at that point of the, usually it's when they come up, but you brought them up already, so.
Yeah. The art is very good. Like, there's really not much you can fault in the art. It's very stylistic. It's very, because the first chunk of it and then some bits later on take place in this nightclub, so there's a lot of neons, purples and blues. But then you get to some of the other stuff and you have like more muted colors, or you have like, the night lights of the city, you get more natural skin tones, that kind of thing.
Some silhouette shots that are just downright gorgeous.
Really good stuff.
So why were you guys excited for Tini Howard? This is a name I'm not familiar with.
I wasn't necessarily. I was open to. I've tried a couple of Tini Howard things and never I've never.
In fact,
hated
I
him.
particularly dislike that implication because I don't really like the writing that much in this issue.
Okay. Well, no, I thought I was going to ask because it felt like when we were talking about like that last Catwoman issue,
Yeah.
we're like, oh, we thought the Teeny Howard stuff was starting, but we got an extra Ram V. I just felt like maybe this was someone that you were familiar with before.
Oh, no,
and you wanted to see their take on Catwoman. Okay, I'm relieved.
I'd seen the preview.
I feel the voice for Selena is super off. And I like the family stuff, like the 5 different families. But man, the storytelling's kind of a mess.
Well, one of my initial things that really struck me is that page that introduces all the crime families.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is too many boxes. You're trying to teach me about too many people in one page. This is too much.
I think I don't quite have the problem with the voice that Matt does or the storytelling. I think overall, I'm mostly into it. I do think it's overwritten though, and especially this page that you're mentioning here with all the introductions, and it's a little bit frustrating because I can think of the exact page that did this in Ram V's run. I remember the page. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was that double page spread as it kind of walked through, and it was fantastic because it wasn't a splash. It was a spread that kind of went back and forth across the page. I remember it specifically. Yeah. And this here is not as good as that. It's a lot clunkier.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, I do think it's overwritten. I do think it's clunkier. Just generally speaking, there's too many narration boxes. There's too wordy at times. There's also a character introduces in the middle of the issue that I just hate.
Me too.
There's a character in this I hate.
This character made me miss Ghostmaker, and I don't like Ghostmaker.
I despise this character. So
I have no strong feelings on this character.
It's just he's this type of character who's trying to impress the main character, and I'm like, I've seen this type of character in other things. I don't like him. Every time this type of character shows up, I usually hate their guts, and it just bugs me. And there's a moment, so early on, right? So it's after they all sit down at a table, and there's like there's a fifth one that comes up at the end, obviously, but there's 4 crime bosses here, and one's a woman. And there's a moment where one of the guys says, "All right, gentlemen," right? And there's an editor's note here, and it's an editor's note that wants to point out that, like, okay, we know that there's, what's the name here, just so I can say who it is. Aiko.
Aiko.
Yeah. So we know Aiko's there. You know Aiko's there. But believe me, I've been in groups many a time where someone said gentlemen, even though I was there, and I was like, okay, that's a fine message to get across. I have no problem with that. But my thought was, what would be much better as a comic book is to put in a panel of Aiko maybe giving them side eye when they say that, to show that she's reacting to it, to show that it's a oversight.
That called show don't tell?
Yeah, because this wasn't even in dialogue, which would be one thing.
I think it doesn't even need a reaction because, like I said, we know she's there.
Yeah,
they know she's there. Just having him make that conscious choice to say gentlemen anyway.
This is like if you're watching a movie and the movie pause for the director to say, "Now everyone, I want to explain what this scene's doing," just in case you don't get it.
Don't give Tarantino ideas, please, because he will do it.
Like, that's what it felt like to me. I'm like, shut up, just show me it.
But yeah, it was. But see, there are stuff I like. I do like all of these crime lords of Gotham and what different parts of the crime they represent.
I have no problem conceptually with the idea of the 4 heads of the families, and then the 5th one being Black Mask later. Like, that's all fine.
Also, the stuff that references the history with Aiko is assuming I'm remembering the character correctly, which I'm pretty sure I am, is from the run towards the end of the New 52. The one that I say was before Ram V, the last good Catwoman stuff that I enjoyed.
Okay.
That's from that, and that was again dealing with a lot of crime family stuff. So this kind of feels like a spiritual sequel to that run, which I really enjoyed. So I'm kind of a little bit more in on premise, I think, at the start of this.
I'll have to look that one up because that's the aspect of this book I like. Once we start getting to the Thieves Guild Club BS with this cat that she has to keep.
No, there's none of that in that book. That was like, it's only 2 or 3 trades long, I think.
That's where it lost me.
Yeah, basically, she moves into like an abandoned apartment on the top of this like fancy building that was it's basically just derelict because there was like a shootout or something, and it's been sort of closed off and just sitting there its own. And she moves in, and this fancy ass cat shows up, and she sniffs out the cologne, and there's someone out there who's dropped this off, and we get this character who, as soon as I saw this character. I'm like, okay, I hate this guy's guts. I just know I do. And then his entire thing is like, oh, I'm a fan of your work and blah blah blah. Like I hate his dialogue. I hate his personality. I hate this. This is like in a spy story. The counter spy who starts like flirting with the main character, and I hate it.
But
Maybe that's why I don't hate this as much, because that's probably
but
like
you can still do that. I felt like in Grayson they did it well.
they did.
You know, but here I don't. It's so I hated reading his dialogue. Like there was so much of it.
I'm not going to defend it because, like I said, I
Yeah.
think it's overwritten. I don't like this character. I'm not defending at all. This is a good character. I just didn't hate.
Well, the problem is though, it's not just that I hate the character. I hate all the plot threads that this could be going to because of this character. Because he leaves with that case at the end with stuff. This is going to be a relationship that evolves throughout this arc. He's on the cover of the solicit from this week.
Yeah, I get. Like I said, I don't hate those threads inherently.
Yeah,
the least exciting aspect of the book, I will absolutely agree with, but I don't.
It's a shame because when Black Mask like storms in and says, "Yeah, I'm the fifth family member. I'm going to shoot you with my Tommy gun," like. I'm like, okay, I could get into the fun of this. I could get into.
It's so stupid. It works.
It's
like,
very Black Mask.
It's very Black Mask.
That's why I love Black Mask as a character, because he's a psychopath that just does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
You know?
That part I can totally get into, but everything else, I mean, you combine this character in the Thieves Guild with the overwriting, which I thought made it a bit of a chore to get through it, but even though the art is really nice, like almost the whole time.
This is one of those ones where I'm trying to read it at work, and my coworker, every time I have my iPad in front of me, is trying to talk to me, and I'm like, I'm on break right now. I'm trying to read, and then I'd have to start again because there's so much on there.
Time to get through each page. And
let me just say real quick before we move from Black Mask, his opening line is Catwoman at my favorite nudie bar.
This is 100% Ewan McGregor Black Mask.
Yeah, that's
Like, this is exactly that version that they've gone. We're just writing him for Ewan.
Yeah,
that's not what I got. I didn't hear that at all, but sure.
Well, you're wrong.
But yeah, so all that stuff, and then again, which I didn't realize until flipping back through this, the case that he gives her at the end, that guy that we don't like, is all the weapons that they're introduced with at the beginning, the 5 families.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that because I got so distracted by all of the writing. So yeah. Anyway.
I mean, it looks gorgeous, but like I'm pretty safely out, to be honest. Like this, I gave it a chance this new run, but like I did not like the writing.
The best thing is that this has a tie to that arc that run that Connor talks about.
I'm completely blanking. I want to say the writers could like.
I pull it up.
It's Valentine.
It's Valentine and Gary Brown.
It's so good.
I'm gonna have to look for that now. Save my shop.
But I really can't emphasize enough just how much, like, any chance this book had a hold of me went away with that character in the middle, and they're kind of like, you know, like back and forth on the rooftop, and even the little joke about you realize Batman's not here if I like kick you off the roof, and just like, okay, not for me.
Yeah, I don't like him.
I can move on with my life. Yeah, he's like a shitty version of Ghostmaker.
Yeah, and I don't like Ghostmaker, so that says a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I feel like this is we won't be matching up on ratings here as much as we have in maybe other books.
Yeah.
So Matt, what are you giving Catwoman?
6.
Connor?
I think I'm gonna give it a generous 7.
Oh.
With the caveat being that it is very overwritten and it's not that deserving, but the general vibe and just the phenomenal art are kind of pulling it up like a 1.5 probably.
Yeah, I'm just going to straight 5. Obviously the art's great, but I hate that character. I have never like taken a disdain to a character as quickly in a comic book, I think, as much as this guy. As this crap, it's like Ghostmaker like screwed Zorro when this thing popped out.
I'm not a defender of this character. I just didn't expect this visceral reaction to it. Sure, this is just there.
Yeah.
But there's going to be more of them. That's the problem. There's going to be more of them. And I can't get on board with that. I just can't.
I tell you what, I do think this run needs beyond fixing the other problems that we've just mentioned.
Kite Man.
I mean,
Oh,
every
yeah.
run needs that, but a different outfit. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed this Catwoman outfit. I think it's been solid under Joelle Jones and kind of that style, and what we had under Ram V. I think for this style of art, it needs something a bit more, a little bit sleeker, maybe a bit more one piece. Going back into the catsuit as opposed to the fragmented pieces. I think it sticks out a bit more, and I think this style of art would benefit more from a one piece suit.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's Catwoman. She's 39. Connor may read the next one, and
depends on the week. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
So cool. Batman the Knight issue 1 is up next. Chip's got a book. The DC
with art by Gia Domenico, which I don't think I realized until I got it.
Joe, it's funny, I didn't even notice the name. It was just a few pages in. I was like, this looks like Gia Domenico, and then I went, oh, it is Gia Domenico.
Yeah.
So fair enough. That tracks. So this is kind of weird because I didn't really remember the solicit for this, to be honest. So I didn't even know what I was going into. I just sort of picked up a book called Batman the Knight. It could have been anything.
You just knew it was by Chip, and you were like, I'll read it.
Yeah. And it is kind of origin story-esque in that it's focusing on Bruce's... At least this issue is mostly the end of his high school years. And that's kind of the framing device is that we keep cutting back to him with Hugo Strange. He's a girl that he knows is recommended Hugo for therapy reasons because he has all this anger and he's going through all this stuff, and that's the framing. We keep coming back to that over the course of the issue, and obviously we know Hugo's susses anything.
That's the fun part of this issue is towards the end where it's like, oh, but Bruce knows he's sus as well.
Oh, of course, yeah. Bruce is figuring that out
because you think he's getting taken in, right? He's along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Strange is on pulling one arm, and he's not.
No.
Yeah, but instead, we get all this stuff where he's fighting at school, he's getting into scrapes, and it's for good reasons. It's like someone was picking on someone else, and they stepped in. So that fundamental part is there, and you get Alfred taking him home awkward from the police station, from the school, and then again at the police station at the end when it's the more serious thing. The reason he's in the organized fighting club. Yeah, I think. I mean, we can debate because we really know what this whole story is yet and what they'll take it. But there are things in this I liked as parts of to add to the origin. I particularly enjoyed there's a scene where he's with his kind of girlfriend, I guess. And they're on the car, and he basically says he wants to become a cop. And it makes sense that in his early life he might have had that thought at one point. That that was the first the first version of him wanting to do good for the city was
He's basically Harry Potter, right? I'm gonna be a cop. You can't be a cop. You're too famous. Well, I just won't carry a gun.
I'll be the leader of the cops.
Yeah. It's very childish, Bruce. And Zdarsky kind of nails that.
But and her reaction, plays like that. But it makes sense that was his first thought. And she's like, "You have all these resources. You're this rich. You can't be a cop because you're too famous. But secondly, you could do more than that. Think bigger, right?" And that's kind of the mantra of this issue, and it's the way he ends it as well when he's leaving Hugo Strange's office. He's like, "I'm a way to think bigger."
He's haunted by this suit of armor. The Bat Knight.
Yeah, so it's just the idea that the knight in question here is this. So I mean, I could buy that this is going to jump ahead in time each issue, but the one running thread is going to be how this suit of armor plays into his psyche each issue or something.
Yeah. Real quick, can we also talk about how I feel like this is Zdarsky taking on all of those anytime someone wants to take a shot at Batman, which I love, we all know how I feel about Batman, but they'll always talk about the social implications of Batman running around Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is
uses money. That question.
Yeah, I feel this is Zdarsky going through and checking stuff off of that list. Like here, he talks about at the end of the car scene about the bully, right? He goes, "Oh, the bully from the academy, what about him?" She's like, "Yeah, he was a bully, but you tormented him in secret for the rest of the school year. You drove his parents to pull him out of the school. There's this darkness around you, and it's almost like this first self-awareness that he could do more. You know, it's not just about dressing up as the Bat. He does have these psychological kind of aspects to him that are deep in there.
But I also like the idea that he does go too far with something, and someone points it out, and it's part of his learning, process.
Right, exactly, and that's what I mean. And then he's going to be able to know when to pull that back. You know what I mean?
It's very human, Bruce.
Because the other scene in this I really like. So I like the scene where he says he wants to become a cop, and then she laughs at it, and the conversation, and the line she says, which is, "The world doesn't need another angry cop." Right? That's a really pointed line, in there, right? The other scene I really like is after Alfred's picked him up from the police station when he's in Fight Club, basically, Alfred goes off on him. He loses his shit. In an Alfred way, but he loses his shit and says, all those people you were fighting, they're doing it because they're desperate. They're doing it because they don't know if they're going to make the rent, and maybe this will be worth the risk of earning some money, as long as the hospital bills presumably don't take it all away, right? They're all desperate. They're all just trying to survive. But you've been given more money than you'll ever need. You've been given all these resources. You've been given everything. So why not prove that you deserve it? Why not do something with it? So there's kind of this constant if nothing else, this issue is basically all of these impulses that come to Bruce initially in those 5, 10, 15 years after the death of his parents. This is the story of him kind of making all the mistakes that one would probably make when they're an angry kid, which they'd be too cruel. Even if their heart's in the right place, they would think of the more violent option when they should think, no, this is why I should do it this way. There is an interest, as much as part of me's thinking as I'm reading this, I'm do we need another kind of early days, this is how Bruce becomes Batman story.
I felt the same thing as I'm enjoying what I'm reading, so it was a weird thing. I was like, this is good.
But this is the thing, this is the point I'm getting to though, is that it's constantly kind of picking away at details and questions that I don't think I've seen other writers address that much.
Yeah, it's him being flawed.
Even the awareness of Alfred being I've let you become a spoiled rich brat.
Right.
And that's usually we think of Alfred as the good noble father who did everything he could. And Alfred's do you know what? I could have done better.
Right. Well, and also when he's talking to Dana at the college and she's like, you got to go to class. He's like, no, I don't. It's chemistry. I've paid enough money here. They're going to pass me anyways. I'm going to go do research. She's like, but you're taking up a spot at school and you don't even want to be here. So it's pointing up that stuff too, that he is a spoiled brat.
But I also, there's a line in here that is still very Batman, where he says, tests and exams just slow me down. I'm here to learn. I'm that is such a Batman thing to say.
No, it is.
It's why you can see the Batman that he's going to become in there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of rough edges that need to be sanded away first.
Exactly, and I like that because I love a flawed Batman. I love a self-aware, flawed Batman.
It's actually, do you know what it is? It's taking Batman and saying, okay, no, but here's everyone goes through a period when they're a teenager and younger where they do make a lot of mistakes. They think about things the wrong way before things click for them. This is actually one of the most effective pieces of writing that's ever done that to a major character like this, and said, here's them with all their flaws and all the troubleshooting, if you will, of going through life before he landed on his morals and all these things.
An acknowledgement that he is not a perfect person that has always made the right choices. That he's not always been dedicated to this one singular goal of justice / vengeance.
And the one sort of fantastical thing is this recurring kind of vision of this suit of armor that's got a bat coming out of it.
Right. Which not just for that iconography, but I also feel like that's the clue that he's not letting Strange hypnotize him. Is that's his anchor. Is this suit of armor that he keeps going back to, and it's going to end up being a motif.
It changes as well slightly. So when we see it at the end there, which is the physical one that's in Strange's office, right? It's slightly different to the version that we see earlier in the issue in the Vision. In there, it's got a big shield coming out of it almost, like a doorway to get to the insides. The helmet is again, it's got the same kind of basic core elements, but it hasn't got the grill that the last one has.
It almost looks like the Destroyer armor from Thor.
Yeah. It is fundamentally different, which is kind of interesting. The idea that it's the idea was there, but this is a specific version.
Well, it's the idea that ultimately he's going to become the Dark Knight, right? I mean, that's obviously why the title's been chosen and why the motif is all chosen. But if you're thinking about this story of him discovering who he really is and sort of finding himself and working out all these rough edges, the symbolism being, you were never going to just be a cop. You're going to be the Knight, right? And obviously he can't visualize that because he can't he doesn't know how important Batman's going to be in advance. He doesn't, he's not even thought of the idea yet. But the idea that ultimately he was always meant to be something more, and this visual motif. So I can almost see like he's not going to wear a literal suit of armor, of course, and the bat suit. At least
I bet he wears it at one point.
I mean, maybe it does, but
I mean, yeah, I don't think it's going to be an actual armor, but this is his metaphorical.
If anything,
he puts around Bruce Wayne.
It's an armor for his.
If anything, him being fascinated by the visual of a suit of armor is going to be the inspiration of wearing a costume of some kind, right? It's probably going to play into that choice.
Yeah, and then it's his armor for his psyche as opposed to the physical thing as well.
Yeah, because typically it's like, okay, obviously the bat symbolism is always there, but typically it's like, well, it's like a ninja suit with the added bat motif, whereas this is maybe going to look at it from even just the idea of wearing a suit with a mask and a costume is important beyond the theatricality of scaring the criminals. It's about his version of a uniform, right? And that's an idea that's come up before.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot in there. There's a lot of things that it's doing really smart, and it's like, so I'm curious to see where it goes next. 'Cause I'm assuming it's going to jump ahead in time and probably still be early Batman. Don't get me wrong, I don't think we're going to jump to year 5, but
I think it's really interesting if you go to the the back of all the books this week. It's got the advert for this.
Yeah,
and it's just 4 characters. It's got Hugo Strange and Alfred, and okay, we've kind of seen them already. But then it's got Ducard, and it mentions how there's a string of crimes in Paris that'll make Bruce Wayne a suspect. So that comes in. And we've got this burglar character, Lucy Chesson.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Ducard's a big part of issue 2, because it just makes sense that would be soon. He was going to go off and train and do his thing.
Yeah, and then this this thief, the little text underneath it mentions that she teaches him the best way to catch a thief is to become one. So it's okay. We're going to see Bruce acquire these skills over. I think this is 10 issues, right? But it's going to be not in the traditional sense. It'll be very much from this broken perspective, and we'll probably see Bruce become better over the series.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this is kind of taking that first half of Batman Begins and fleshing it out into a full series. Because that was in there, the idea that he's going to sort of become a thief to understand how it works and understand how to be desperate.
It was there as a nice little montage for that point, right?
Which works in a movie, but this is obviously wanting to really explore the psyche of that.
But you can do okay, this is the thief issue, this is the detective issue, and you can go through various aspects as it goes on.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, this issue is him saying, the idea of being bigger is I have to okay, what do I want to do? So I mean, maybe it'll be another issue before he decides he has to go off and learn and train and whatever. But
will each issue focus on a skill? Will there be an issue where this is the disguise issue? I did get
a chuckle out of those. So Alfred, when he comes back early on in the issue, he's emptied out the library. He's like, this was full of all the books that your parents got to learn and improve their lives. So we're starting from empty, and you're going to add books to learn and improve yourself. And the idea being that this is better than all the fighting you're doing. But then later on, when he gets some books said, it's how to do Taekwondo, how to punch someone in the face.
Yeah. Although there's also the book on botany, which he uses to learn to get back at the kid.
Yeah. So it shows he's resourceful. It shows that he is good at learning things, if nothing else.
Yeah. But also, again, this being a flawed Bruce, he's taken that concept and he's twisted it. He's gone, all right, fine, I'll do it your way, but it's still kind of spiteful in the what he's done, there as a kid specifically.
Yeah. And if anything, I feel like this Alfred does deserve, maybe not an apology per se, but I feel like Zdarsky's probably going to have because this is a strenuous relationship these two seem to have in this particular issue, and I do wonder if there's an acceptance of what Alfred's done for him, and there'll be an acceptance on the other side from Alfred of who he's becoming later on in the story as he's becoming Batman or whatever.
Yeah, well, because now it definitely feels like he wants to make Alfred proud. I
don't know. There's clearly some semblance of a good relationship that maybe we haven't really seen in this issue, but Alfred calls him son at one point.
Oh sure, yeah. It's not like the worst I've seen portrayed, but
it's not like the like the Earth One relationship, for example.
Yeah, but
It's
I don't think
strange, very.
I don't think for a second here that if Bruce at like 17 turned round to Alfred and said, "Hey, I'm going to become a vigilante," dressed as a bad, that Alfred is going to take it on.
I feel like Alfred's like, no, you're not. You're
Go back to bed.
yeah, no, Master Bruce, you're my son. I care about you so much. He definitely have to do it in secret, and then Alfred's gonna find out and be pissed.
Yeah. Which might still happen, and that might be a thing that we have.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if this goes beyond when he becomes Batman at a certain point, or if it literally just ends with him like being becoming Batman properly for the first time. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah, there's an idea you could end this with, essentially the "I shall become a bat."
You could, you
right?
could, yeah. You could, and maybe it'll be written in such a way that you could fit it into year one, and it wouldn't like contradict any of it.
I mean, so far,
yeah,
that's definitely on track that it could do that.
Yeah, it just depends what Zdarsky's got planned for the rest of it, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but it was good, and I guess we're all into it and reading more of it.
It was good enough.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. And I praised them as well for only showing like the quick visual of the gunshot and no pearls falling to the ground.
Yeah,
they do reference it.
Yeah,
and I know we all complain that we're seeing all this again, but if you're doing an early day story, there is an element of you have to have at least a little bit of that in there, right?
Yeah, but I like how Chip and Joe Domenico kind of tiptoe around that.
Yeah. I like the idea that he's thinking of this suit of armor. Like in theory, a night suit of armor would stop a bullet, at least a traditional, like a regular, 9mm bullet. Maybe not a sniper round or anything like that, but yeah. But not all designed for that, because obviously night suits armor are pre-gunfire. But I have to imagine a proper suit of armor would stop a regular bullet.
Probably.
I don't know, man. There's breastplates that people wore right after guns were developed, and those musket balls went through.
Depends. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw it. I went around on Twitter a few weeks ago of the guy with the cannonball that went right through him.
Yeah, wearing a thing of armor.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he died, obviously.
He died. Yeah.
Did he? Are we sure? His chest caved in.
It went right through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I want to see this. This sounds a bit grisly.
You just see the suit of armor now. Like
it's just the breastplate.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it's not the guy.
Okay.
There's no pictures of a guy inside it.
That's all right.
Man. The more you learn about like early war stuff, and the more ghastly it was, and the fact that like germ theory wasn't even thought about till 150 years ago. Like if you caught an injury during a war and you survived, right there, that was it. Like.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, what are you giving Batman?
I'm giving it a 7.
All right. Connor?
I'm going to give it an 8. And also, I'm annoyed at DC because stop publishing Batman books that I want to read. Because I want to complain for publishing too many Batman books, but they're good.
Yeah, I think I have to also go with the 8. Like, it's funny because like part of me is like another early days Bat story. I don't really need it, but then he kept making good scenes and good points and good things to explore. That
it is good, right? Especially on its own merits, it's good.
Yeah. So, damn it, Zdarsky. Oh well. Okay. Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow. Tom King writing with Bill Evely on the art, and it is the penultimate issue of this series, and the gist of this one is that the girl is left on a beach with the villain Krem tied up a tree. Comet's there to make sure she doesn't try to kill him, while Supergirl goes off to take on the ship full of bad guys who are trying to rescue him. Basically, his entire group of baddies all have this code of honor where they'll try to rescue each other if one of them gets captured.
Yeah, the brigands.
So we have all this gorgeous art of Supergirl taking on like a space ship, but it's actually just looks like an old pirate ship.
Yep, it's Supergirl versus space pirates, and I'm so here for it.
Yeah, and it's the girls narrating, and in the hindsight as she has been doing, and talking about how Comet's there to make sure she doesn't like try and kill Krem, because Supergirl isn't all about the murder, right? Like that's not what she is.
Well, also they need him to give the antidote for Crypto.
Yes,
He won't
yes.
give it up.
He's not revealed that yet. And it's a bad idea, like, because she talks Comet into letting her like take off the gag, so that because maybe he's trying to confess something right now. Maybe this is important what he's saying.
Right.
I was like, oh no, this is bad, because he's going to start talking, and once he starts talking, going to be railed up. And I thought it was a really good version of it though, because obviously it has to be distinct. Because what we've seen, like I think the first example I think of is in The Dark Knight when the Joker starts riling up the cop when he's like, you know a person until they're until they're just about dead or whatever. Joanna, watch your friends were cowards. Yeah. So like you have all that like going. But what he actually does though is he talks about killing her father, obviously. And he was essentially paid to find the weaklings and the traitors and all these things. And he would usually do it by telling a joke about the king, the emperor, whatever it is. And if they were traitors, they would, laugh and like go along with the joke. But her dad didn't, right? Like he actually got very offended and said, "Get off the land," and spoke down to him. And he basically says that he had this thought that he didn't like the idea of this lowly rock farmer thinking he was better than him,
forgetting his place.
Yeah. But basically thinking he was better than him because he felt righteous in this moment. And by the time he finished having that thought, his blade was already in his chest. So he had this basically just moment of petty, insecurity, and killed him for making him feel that. Is ultimately what it boils down to.
Well, it's every bully. The reason they bully is because they feel insignificant. So by bullying someone that you think can't stick up for themselves, it makes you feel like you have more power. And that's basically what Krem is, right? And this is how Kara's been trying to deal with him. In the right way. You're not going to give in. You can't really bully the bully, despite what Rocky tells you. You gotta be better. So yeah.
Yeah. And he says, he's not going to feel remorse. He is what he is, and he doesn't feel a damn thing bad about it. And ultimately, all this stuff with Supergirl fighting in the ship it's all great. It all looks wonderful, but she actually does kind of start to lose because they have a little bit of kryptonite. They have a lot of big weapons. There's a great moment where she's like going into the atmosphere of a planet, and like the narration talks about how when Supergirl described this later, it was like, it was actually kind of nice at first because it reminded her of this warm embrace and this memory she has of her parents and her dad kind of messing up something in the kitchen and like, don't tell your mother. And it was this nice little moment. But basically, the main bad guy on the boat is like aiming this kryptonite gun at her, and she starts talking, but then you realize through the scene that she's not talking to him, she's talking to Comet, and she's saying, "No, don't. Whatever you do, Comet, do not come up and help me. Like, you stay there. She needs you more than I do." And the girl convinces Comet. She promises not to like do anything. She gives him her word that she won't try and kill Krem. So Comet flies off to help Supergirl, and immediately she turns and draws her sword and says, it weighs on your conscience to lie to a horse, but I get over it pretty quick.
Because she talked about a pony that she had on back home, and that she treated it so well compared to her brothers and their horses, that her dad or her mom said that you were spoiling it. And then so she had to work on unspoiling it. And the moral of that story was lying to the horse, and that she had to learn to do that from an early age. So the
cliffhanger is her saying this as she's drawing her sword and walking towards Krem. So this idea that she might go too far and might kill Krem is kind of her cliffhanger here to get into the final issue. Which is a good cliffhanger because obviously it's the idea of Supergirl battling for this girl's innocence and soul, or whatever you want to call it.
And then if she has left a mark, then the girl will not kill Krem.
Yeah,
right?
And not to mention Crypto's life is also at stake,
right?
by letting him live. So yeah, a lot going on here. The art is pretty great. All the Supergirl in space fighting the ship and the pirates, all good.
Yeah, so it's balanced. So Evely does this really cool thing here where the island that the girl and Krem and Comet are on is like this desert island paradise.
Also blues, aqua greens.
Yeah. And then that's intercut with like the coldness of space with a lot of yellows, and as Kara's going up there, and the initial barrage that hits her is all, yellows, reds, oranges, and black. And man, it's really balanced well. And then even the on the ship and stuff, it keeps that color going.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've got just the stark black of space, and like you say, all the blasts are these strong, vibrant yellows and reds, whereas the island is all blues and muted greens, and it just it's this very tranquil, peaceful place. Which is the irony of the issue is that the ultimate moral decision, the ultimate exciting decision that the cliffhanger is going to be about is the one that's on the island. So the actual real tension is on the island, because even the narration from the girl says that, well, Supergirl's fighting a bunch of baddies, and but ultimately they think they can overpower her, but that never turns out to be true. You're really just waiting for Supergirl to win, and kind of it almost pokes fun at the writing of a super character in that way.
Yeah, right, and that they told stories of this, how she took out the brigands, so we know how this ends because it's told later. And that, each person tells it a little bit differently. And even this cartoonist that did a version that was just silly,
She says there was good and bad poetry written about it.
Yeah.
And gives an example of the bad poetry, which was an amusing little bit.
Yep. But yeah, it's really good. I'm excited to see where this ends up, because this was a book that has completely won me over. So I like to think it has a little bit to do with Comet, because I didn't realize Comet was going to be the third lead by the end of this book. So... but yeah, it's really, really good. This is a nice penultimate chapter.
Yeah, no, I got a lot of it as well. I don't know if I liked it quite as much as the last issue, but I will say that this ultimate choice that the girl has to make at the end, I do like as a cliffhanger of a penultimate issue. I think the idea being that our time with Supergirl hopefully has taught her that just straight up revenge isn't the right choice.
Yeah, is
something you hope lands, and it feels like a nice moral core to the super characters that you want them to be able to impart on someone. And the same way that Action's doing it with hope and the idea of believing they can save themselves, this is about taking the wrong path in a different way. So good stuff. What are you rating it?
8.5.
8.5. Yeah, I'm going to concur with the 8.5, I think. So very good stuff. There you go. That's the books. So that'll take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favourites of the week, favourite panel/moment, favourite cover, favourite art, and top 5 books. So without further ado, Matt, what is your favourite panel/moment of the week?
So it's going to be from Nightwing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I just have to pick which one. And I'll go for self-parody. I'll go for Starfire staring down Blockbuster.
Oh, sure.
It was a really good moment, but really pick one from Nightwing, and it'll be my moment of the week too.
Yeah, Connor.
Yeah, I know. Well, also from Nightwing, which I suspect all of those might be. I know Pete said he preferred something else over this, so I'll just take the Titans together. Just
sure.
Represent that moment.
It's a good one.
I know which one Pete's choosing.
Yeah, I'm going with Nightwing. I'm going with the 2-page layout that reveals Starfire and Donna Troy. I think that it's just
just the top half of that as well, right? The
pretty much.
Rooftop.
Yeah. It's that series of 4 vertical panels going across the 2 pages that reveals both of them. It's like a fist pump moment. It's feel good, and it's hard to fault. So yeah, that's my pick. Cover of the week, Connor.
Oh, there's some good ones.
Yes, there are.
To shout out just a couple of the obvious ones, the Bermejo variant for Detective again, the Nightwing variant. I'm gonna give it to the Wonder Woman variant though, which is not a Jenny Frison one this time or a Middleton one. It is what's the name here? I'm not finding the name of the artist. Will Murray. It's that kind of storybook fairy tale kind of esque one, and yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah, obviously, the Bermejo cover's great. You can't really fault it. The Supergirl variant's quite nice as well.
Nicholas Scott, right? So
Yeah, it's hard to fault. Nightwing's obviously got a very good cover. I think I might actually go with because I actually really like the regular detective as well.
Yeah.
With Huntress. I'm basically just deciding between that and the variant, if I'm honest.
Also, it should mention that the Fauna's variant as well for Tech. Tech has 3 fantastic covers.
Yeah, they're all good covers. I've really been digging this, like the regular cover artist on these like 10 issues. Like I'm digging this consistency where they've got the same cover artist doing all 10 of them.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to give it to that again. I'm going to go with the regular detective cover. All right, what are you going for?
I hope they're doing all 12 of them though.
Did we talk about the Nightwing
Sorry, 12.
Campbell? The Campbell.
I mentioned it, but
okay. I like that one, but it's going to be the Nicola Scott Supergirl.
I mean, the Campbell cover is nice. It's the one with Nightwing and Babs. Yeah. Hard to be mad at that. All right, cool. So art of the week. I guess I'll go first with this one. Well, is there anything that's going to take it from Redondo? I mean, Evelyn's good. Takara is the standout of Wonder Woman this week, but no, it's Redondo. Nothing's taking it. Connor?
That's fair. I'm actually going to break away, surprisingly.
Oh, no.
Oh, here we go.
I'm giving it to Catwoman. And yeah, I know we had a lot of story and writing critiques, but the art was just gorgeous.
I can't fault that it's up there. Matt?
Shouts to Takara for Wonder Woman, because I really like the art there, but it's Redondo.
Yeah. All right, top 5 books, Matt, go.
1, Nightwing. 2, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. 3, now I have to remember my order. I said Nightwing, Supergirl, let's go Superman, Tech, and Wonder Woman.
Okay. Connor?
Yeah, Nightwing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Gaping Chasm. Batman the Knight, which I still liked a lot, that's how big that chasm is. Detective, Wonder Woman, toss up between Catwoman and Superman, and I'll probably give it to Catwoman just because I really like the art. Just nudge it into the 5 spot.
Sure. So for me, number 1 is Nightwing. That's shocking, I know. Number 2, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Number 3, Detective. Number 4, Batman the Knight. Number 5, Superman, Son of Kal-El. I think that's where I'm going with. So, there you go. Nice, pleasant week of comics. A lot of good stuff. So let's have a look and see what's coming out next week from DC Comics. We have Detective Comics 1050, which, just to remind everyone, that is a bigger sized issue. So it's still part of this 12 part story, but it's a bigger issue. We have The Flash 778. Action Comics 1039, Justice League 71, Batman Catwoman Special Issue 1, which is a very big issue, but there's some pretty notable artists in there, so that may be hard to pass up anyway.
That's the one that was like half done by John Paul Leon before he died.
It was, yeah.
Man.
And it may also be very important to the overall story, so but it is a big book. We got Robin issue 10, DC versus Vampires issue 4, Wonder Girl issue 7, The Human Target issue 4, Harley Quinn issue 11, Teen Titans Academy issue 11, Task Force Z issue 4, Deathstroke Inc. issue 5, Superman 78 issue 6, Superman and Robin Special issue 1. I forgot what that is.
It's Tomasi Super Sons continuation.
I see.
I think it's just the one shot.
That's fair.
Here's an issue of Super Sons again.
Aquaman Green Arrow Deep Target issue 4 and Peacemaker Disturbing the Peace issue 1.
Yep.
That was by someone, Garth Ennis. Yeah, which you will either be very interested in that because of that, or you will not. Which to me is the not, but I can definitely see there's definitely some people who will like see that name and be like, oh, I want to read it.
It's Garth Ennis and Gary Brown, who's from that Catwoman run.
Yeah.
Well, I've got 7 books, although 2 of them are quite big, and I do have Patreon books to do still, so but I made a conscious choice this week because I knew it was Solicits week. So
And you knew we were recording at a later time.
I also knew that. Yes. So hey, it is what it is. But hey, I mean honestly, next week was just as exciting, to be honest. Like, you know, if Nightwing's the obvious frontrunner for our favourite book overall, action's pretty close behind it. So
And I think Federici starts next issue, like next week's. So is anyone reading Wonder Girl issue 7? Given that we all read 6 and it's the final issue.
I mean, it's still on my poll, but I don't know if I'll prioritize it like I do with the other ones.
I mean, if I feel like it after I read everything else, sure.
Yeah.
But...
To be fair though, Matt has to read Justice League before he gets to Wonder Girl anyway.
I know. I'm too behind by now. So.
Oh, then you got 3 issues to read.
No. Funny.
But yeah, that's what's coming up next time on Comics from the Multiverse. I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Boardnow, Christopher Moy, and David Brown. Thank you to you all. You can, of course, support us over in patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and help keep all the content coming. The $5 tier in particular, you get the show the night before, a little bit early. So, you know, if that's of interest, go and have a look. And you can support us otherwise for free simply by hitting the like button, subscribe, ding the bell on YouTube for notifications, rate us 5 stars with a review on iTunes or wherever you get a podcast from. All those things do help. And of course, get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. You can question things there, or you can share us on Twitter and so on. Share us with your comic loving friends. Why not?
You can do that anywhere though. Doesn't have to be just Twitter.
That's true. You can share us anywhere you like, pretty much. You know, if you're on a dating app, put it in your bio. Fan of this podcast.
If you do that, let us know how that works.
You know what? I think we're not too far away from, like, you know, like how people put like favorite movie and favorite TV show.
Favorite podcast.
Favorite podcast. I mean, I don't think we're too far away from that culturally.
Yeah.
Phil, if we're your favorite, don't put it there. You drop that on them later.
Yeah.
You don't open with it.
So all, you know, all those people, Tinder, Bumble, and Grindr, all, you know, finding us through people's apps and profiles. So
I was thinking of John Cena and Trainwreck going, if anyone needs me, I'll be outside on Grindr. Like kills me. It's such a throwaway, and he sells it so well.
Dear. So yeah. That's us. That's episode 289. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a meaty show. Hopefully you had fun with it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So thank you very much for joining us. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.